They had a very bad original concept. It was carried out poorly, and the cover-up was one of the worst in the history of cover-ups. Very simple. Bad deal, should have never been thought of. Somebody really messed up, and they had the worst cover-up ever. And where it should have stopped is at the deal standpoint, when they thought about it, because whoever thought of that idea, I think is in big trouble. They had a very bad, as far as my relationships with all people, I think I have great relationships with all people. I am the least racist person in this room.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Watch Hillary examine the terrain. Watch a campaign with the man Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine in the brain. Tim Kaine in the brain.
Really, how many people do that? You mean they moved out and then they said, "Ah, the hell with it, I'm back in." You know, it doesn't sound like very normal. You mean they moved out and what? They missed it so much that they wanted to move back in? Yeah.
Well, and then
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Look, talk about education. I propose that what we take is those very poor schools, the Title I schools. School, not daycare. School. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear words.
Bottom line, the American dream, the great American dream versus being a socialist hellhole.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Hello, users! Wada bada bingo! Hello, everyone. Wow. Hopefully everyone is having a good evening. Wow, okay. Alright. AK-47 Tetris, Space Dog, Mike Silva, Joseph of the Mud, King of Badgers, Hook, Nicholas Nordlund, Lil Red Alice, Katie Sigmon, Passive Aggressive Regressive Voice, Unknown Stoyle, Patty Heffley, Rebecca Solar Willpower, Thrashing Mad, Kawaii Chan, hello everybody. Hello. First of all, let me get fucking baked. Yeah, so I think the House is supposed to be doing something right now. Let me look this up. What's going on? The House. Pretty sure that's happening. They are. They debate on 25th.
The House Representative Cardin has a vote aye on ordering the previous question.
I'm going to put the House up in a second here.
Clerk will report the title.
I'm going to start this. This is a 2-hour-old broadcast. So, I'm going to start this, but obviously we've got more pressing things to talk about. But I just wanted to say, today's stream, I will try to get through what's going on in the House today. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to try to get through it. But again, obviously, I know that there's pressing issues that we need to discuss. So, now I just want to say this. I really want to say this up front, and to be completely honest, I'm pretty fucking high already. So I don't quite remember how the debate went. So... Hey, Elizabeth Perez. You can join the Discord if you want, but I respond to the YouTube chat. Yeah, so I want to be very upfront, and, you know, he said he wants to do a round 2, and I really would love to do a round 2. So, but I want to be really upfront that, like, was he abusive? I mean, I guess, right? But, like, who cares? Like, you don't have to feel sorry for me. I have spoken to literal Nazis, right? Like, you don't have to, you know. And I appreciate it that, I appreciate it that people are looking out for me, but that is compared to the things that I've done, or rather that I've been through, and, you know, also probably, that was not that abusive. It was pretty bad. And again, when I mentioned Tulsi, that was great. Right? But God, it was really fun. I really tried my best to get under his skin. Like, I really tried my best to get under his skin in, like, the smallest ways possible. So I hope I accomplished that. Like, what do you think? Thank you for the super chat, Fayday. So you claim to be against bullying and abuse, but then you went and did that to Nico House. Makes you think. It does make you think, honestly. Again, reminder, this guy thinks that the idea that someone could be getting super chats and that super chat would influence their behavior, that's not possible. Right? That's not possible. The election of the United States of America being stolen? Well, I mean, it's possible, right? Who knows? Like, the idea that, I don't know, man, it was just, wow. Oh, he had a post-debate show? What? Yeah, he kept fucking trying to paint me as, like, a pro-Biden, like, establishment person, and that just, I tried my best to shoot that down. In the best way I could, because again, like, how are you going to go out there and thinking force the vote is a bad idea is defending AOC? That's gospel. But then you're going to go ahead and defend Tulsi Gabbard to that extent? A little embarrassing. Hey, Amish Ninja. Thank you, thank you. Ian Kinzel, TLDR, Nico House doesn't get abstraction. Absolutely. I love that, by the way. I'm 1930s Antifa. The modern Antifa, they're pasty soy boys. I'm a 1930... Literally classical liberal bullshit. I'm not a normal anti-fascist. I'm a classical anti-fascist. Oh my god. Right? Like, I can't. Dude, that shit was too funny. I want to be very explicit. We both requested loose moderation. And I specifically, right before the show started, requested as loose moderation as possible. So I want to just be 100% that Kennedy did an amazing job, and I really think that you should follow them. They did an absolutely fantastic job. And if you think that they didn't do an outstanding job, I want you to understand that I specifically requested them to let whatever was going to happen. So I really want you to know that. It was not bad moderation. It was how it was supposed to be. And they played the part perfectly, so. So again, I just wanted to have that, I told them to be 100%. I told them if it looks like it's a viral moment, don't step in. That's what I said. So, and that was exactly what happened. Yeah, this morning's show got 1,000 clicks. I don't know how. Like, okay, and I want to be 100% upfront. the only reason why I would ever debate someone is for promotion. That's it. Like, I didn't go into the debate to exchange ideas, and I'm 100% honest about that. Like, and again, I'm willing to debate again. Well, I shouldn't say that, because I am actually very interested in how people word these things. That is, like, I treat these things as a science experiment, which means I don't get personally invested. Like, to the point, like, again, he was abusive, sure, but I don't care, right? So I'm not personally invested. But I do like to know how these people think. So there is value in debate because it teaches me how the other side thinks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very curious, like, how this person tried to defend Donald Trump's coup attempt. That was really bizarre, and I kept pressing at that because that was, like, the most disgusting thing he said, I think. That was the most disgusting thing he said, was that Donald Trump didn't incite violence. And he also conflated Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. That was just gross. That was just so fucking dumb. Like, that was, like, real, like. And again, I'm willing to have this conversation in these terms. If Nico, like, wants to, if someone sends them this or whatever, right? I'm willing to go again, and I'm willing to say this directly to you without a moderator. That's fine with me. But damn, that was dumb. And again, he kept trying to pretend like I was a neoliberal. And that's what's my main problem is with all these forced to vote people, is they cannot have that conversation without accusing the other person of being a neoliberal. That's my problem. Is, again, we agreed on the policy, and yet he kept repeating the policy. We agreed on the policy. I literally, in my first opening statement, I think, I literally said, we agree on the policy. I'd prefer to talk about the strategy, right? I'd prefer to talk about the strategy. And he spends the whole thing, the policy, never talking about the strategy. And I tried to correct him at the end. We're not talking about policy. We're talking about strategy. And he kept just, it's one of the retreats that they do because they don't have an argument on the strategy or the merits of the strategy. So they retreat to the, oh, you don't like Medicare for all in a pandemic? What are you, a neoliberal? Hey, Nick. Yo, Keck, I'm finally stealing money from crazed Trumpers. Here's some money for having to deal with that smooth brain. Embarrassing to hear that his cringe is a right-winger. Well, again, he said he's open to another debate tomorrow. So, we'll see. I'm down. Like, just so you know, I'm down. I am 1000% down. So if he, like, somehow, like, doesn't show up tomorrow or kicks the can down the road, he said in the stream, he said, fine, I'll do one tomorrow. So I'll hold him to that. But again, I'm going to get into the House in a little bit. And I can pause and we can, but I do want to get into this because I think that this is important. So, and this stream is ongoing. It is live, but again, I was originally going to cover this 2 hours ago, but we did the debate instead. I didn't know that Nico is streaming. I would love to watch the VOD with his chat up. Would anyone be interested in that? Yeah, Elizabeth, yeah, that was really ridiculous. That was really absolutely ridiculous. And I tried to spin that on him as well. But it was very cringe stuff. I mean, in the words of our president,
only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Yeah, Amish Ninja, I tried to focus on strategy, like, to the best I can. But that, obviously it's not in their best interest to focus on that. Maybe I should have pinpointed it a little bit more, made it more explicit that he was dodging, but, whatever. And again, when he also threatened litigation with me. That was really funny. When he threatened litigation, he's like, I'm not saying that you could be sued. I'm not saying that I'm going to sue you. It's just, I got really offended when you said that thing on your stream, and I'm just saying you could be sued. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to sue you. No, because I'm a beta male. But I'm just saying you could be sued. I'm just saying. Like, bro, what? Cloud, $5. Keep it up. Yo, I should check Twitter. I haven't checked Twitter at all. Give me a sec. 44 notifications on Twitter. Whoa, buddy. We got some fresh cringe. Let me just tell you. We got some fresh cringe. Holy mackerel, buddy. Holy mackerel. Are you ready for this?
Dumb people, liberal people, 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 dumb people, liberal people.
What is that? Oh, man. They're not sending their best. They're not sending their best. They're not sending their best. Let's see what else we got. Holy shit. I didn't even, like, the idea that his fanboys would be intervening in my mentions, I didn't even realize that that would be a thing. I honestly didn't know we had fanboys. I completely forgot about that. Bella Delphine is trending. Let me click that real quick. Come on. How far do you have to scroll until you get the source? Like, what the hell? Anyway, let's see. Twitter is pretty good. I'm getting mostly positive messages. Of course, like, I appreciate the positive messages, but, like, I'm not going to highlight a positive message on the stream and say, look at this positive message someone sent me. Aren't they beautiful and amazing? I mean, I guess I could, right? But, fuck. Oh my god, stop giving me money, motherfuck. Alright, $5. They call him Nico House because he's scattered and all over the place. If he grew up, became more disciplined and thoughtful, it'd be Nico Senate. Stop it. Stop. Fun Police, $5. That's from Ian, by the way, the message. Tuesday Shoegaze, $5 for my favorite corporate dem. Apparently Pence is not going to invoke 25th Amendment. So keep that in mind while we watch the House proceedings, that they're not going to. Pence just said he's not going to. So I'm just throwing that out there. Luckily, they don't need his permission. 14, Section 3. Fuck them. That's what I'm hoping, Sam, but I couldn't find the source. So maybe someone will send it to me later. Boebert got into a standoff? What? What are you talking about? $2, Ian. This is for telling me to stop sending money. Motherfucker. Well, stop sending me money? Right? Almost, maybe. Oh, really? That sucks. Well, actually, it depends on the quality of the photos. New metal... Are you kidding me? Is this breaking? Did this just happen? Like, what's going on? Max, you're making gross licking noises. Like, if you want to lick yourself on my fucking live stream... Oh, now you're licking me. Oh, whenever he licks me, I just, like, rub it on him. It's like, this is you. I'm going to use you as a towel. I love you, Max. I love you. Oh. He's so loud, though. But yeah, again, I want to say thank you to everyone who gave me super chats in the previous stream. I guess I can read through those because I do have that window still open. I don't know if there's a... Alright, I'm just gonna... $5 from Brian. This is in the previous stream, so I didn't get a chance. So $2 from Ian. JL $10. Katarina K $10. F period Huffin the Third $4.99. RH $10. Katarina says go Andrea. By the way, Ian says Q for Nico. What is the definition of fascism? By the way, I hope y'all noticed my little. I hope y'all noticed what I did at near the end there. I really hope that was. I understand. When I was I understand you get triggered by that, but I thought that was really funny. RH says $10. Be peaceful. This is the typical Trump game after pulling some shit. Prime the pump, then disavow. Wait a bit, then get right back at it. Nico, time to get real. Agreed. Christina Oaks, $4.99. Andrea for the win. Wonderful. RH, $20. What is wrong with you people? Seriously. Time to read this, y'all. QAnon woke up. The deep sleep state and... Open letter to QAnon. Okay, stop the steal and other communities involved in the Capitol attack. Oh, okay. Send me that if you want. He was ranting about it. I didn't even bring up Vosh. I didn't. I just asked him about, I was just saying it's a difficult subject for him. If he wants to pretend that I invoked Vaush, that's fine. I don't even like Vaush. I'm well documented saying, I don't even like Vaush. Maybe I should delete my tweet right before the debate where I laughed at the debate that he had with Vaush. But either way, if he wants to make that connection, he's welcome. Fun Police in the current stream. Andrea, you were great. You're so calm, strong, and quick. My favorite streamer. I wish I had half your brains. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I canceled Vaush. Vaush didn't debate me. At least Nico debated me. Yo, honestly, someone send me Nico House's post-stream. I think he was... I didn't have my chat open at all. Al Grazizak says, I think he was paying attention to your chat while you were talking, then responding to the chat while trying to attack you. Yeah, I didn't have my chat open at all. That might actually explain why he kept referring to me as a neoliberal. Because, I didn't have my chat open because I didn't want to be distracted because I was kind of high. I fucking got really blazed on accident. I didn't know. I was trying a new strain, and I was like, whoops, right? So I got really fucked up. And so I was like, if I have the chat open, I'm going to look at the chat, and I don't want to look at the chat because then my debate performance will be bad. $1.99, Fun Police. My God. Send me the link. I don't care about Vaush. I just wanted to debate him for popularity points. And he didn't respond to me because he probably doesn't know who I am or didn't even get the message. But I'm going to use that to my advantage. Let me go back into the super chats. From the previous stream. DCK Punk, mod, do your job. Again, don't worry about that. I had talked to Kennedy. Kennedy's on my team, so we're good. JL, what happened on 1/6 is a failed coup instigated by Trump and his supporters. Stop denying this. $10. Wow, what the fuck? DCK Punk, $5. Nico was Trump calling for the execution of children around the time of the crime bill. That's actually, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. Discord. Oh my fuck. Oh, is he live right now? Oh.
We should have organized. Yeah, I know. We did.
Oh, he's still talking.
We literally did. Had the most leverage ever. That's why we organized. We recognized.
That's a lie, by the way. He also did this in the debate with me. He kept saying AOC had the most she could single-handedly get whatever she wanted. Right? What? I was a little weird, right? Should I just? I guess I'll watch it live.
The gravity of the moment. I'm telling you what I know. If it was all white neo-progressives, there would be no smearing. Because it's just funny, whenever Jimmy talks about doing stuff, it always ends up having it's always multicultural, it's always inclusive,
do I have more
even with people I wouldn't even agree with.
Come on.
Makes sure to make things
yo, everyone, motherfuckers. Okay, get me more viewers than Nico House. Come on. Go get your grandma in the stream. Go tell your Discord server. I want to have more viewers than Nico right now. Go. Go. Go.
But if Anna had backed Forced to Vote, if Jank had backed Forced to Vote and was speaking.
Why are they talking about TYT? Yo, I gotta... What is this? Now again, I like, just in case anyone's wondering, I'm still willing to talk to him again without a moderator. Like, I don't care about having a moderator. That's fine. So just throwing that out there. In case someone wants to like use what I say in the following to discredit me or whatever. Yo, that's annoying.
It's crazy, like when you hear people and they say something and you're like, hold on, do you not realize how ridiculous this sounds? And they're like, nah, this is perfectly normal. I think my favorite part of the conversation was whenever she wants to, so basically, the Vouch crew for some reason thinks that he actually won the debate, which is...
Oh my god, this is how he starts it? By linking me to Vouch? There's no way. Okay, so this guy is gonna do investigative research into my video to pull a quote of mine out of context to try to pretend like I'm smearing his coworker. That's fine. And now he's gonna pretend that I'm like friends with Vouch? What?
It's once again hilarious because I don't know if you noticed this, but Vouch has actually been terrified of debating another leftist since that debate. And because
yeah, he won't debate me! That's why I canceled him! I canceled Vouch because he won't debate me. What? I don't like him. What is he talking about?
Because of how he got embarrassed. He actually never put that debate up on his page. I had to get it from somewhere else. So Vouch's little anarcho-Bidenist cocksucking crew, they actually think that I was the one who didn't know the definition of fascism, and she thought it was gonna be a funny joke, like, ha, my people will know what the joke is, and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, define fascism, and then she completely drops the ball. Like, if
I didn't drop. Oh my god, this is great. This is great.
you're gonna make fun of somebody for supposedly not knowing.
When did I cancel him? I don't know, a couple months ago. I don't really care. I mean, I just make videos for fun. I just wanted to make a video that said I canceled Vouch so that people would click on the video and I'd get ad revenue. I don't care either way, but I don't watch his content at the end of the day.
Knowing something, maybe you should know what it is. That's all I'm saying. It's awkward. And also, you don't think Biden is a fascist, and then yet you still once again believe that somebody else knows the definition of fascism. Like, it was really weird. It was really weird. I feel like she just wasn't listening, or maybe I was talking too fast, or whatever. Like, JJ, can't believe we got a notification. Like, it just was wild. Like, even, do you understand? Like, this is when people tell me how much they care about racism. Like, whenever people like her tell me that, like, I don't, or prejudice in general, I don't want to hear it, because as I'm explaining to you, she's like, oh my god, somebody must be paying you to say that.
Reminder, this guy literally said that because I am transgender and because Tulsi Gabbard voted for a good bill for trans people a year ago, that I should celebrate her, even though she just brought forward transphobic legislation 3 weeks ago. So this guy is going to tell me that I'm a bad trans person because I don't worship I don't suck Tulsi Gabbard's toes in my lucid dreams, right? But this guy is going to try to like utilize, I don't trust anyone when they say they're not racist. Like, okay, all right, interesting.
That Biden is literally a segregationist rapist. Somebody has to pay me to acknowledge the truth. See,
I agreed with him. Literally. You can go watch the debate. I agreed with him. I said Biden is garbage. I said I was one of the most vociferous advocates of Tara Reade in the primary. I said I think he is a rapist and a racist. I agreed with him. And now, right afterward, he's going to say that I didn't. He literally wasn't listening. Yeah. King of Badgers, yep. He literally was not listening. That is correct.
Problem, everybody that you watch does have to pay to acknowledge something. It isn't the truth, but they get paid to say what they say. Me saying this is a fact that she has not heard reiterated in her bubble. And so therefore I must be getting paid for it. No.
Are you kidding me? So I did a debate with this guy and he didn't listen to a word I said? I mean, I knew that was going to be the case anyway. But like, wow. Like literally 5 minutes into his post show and he just acknowledged that he didn't listen to a thing I said. Are you kidding me? I actually took notes. I took notes on this debate. I had a fucking notepad window open with notes when he was listening and I wrote down the notes and I tried to get at each point each time. And this guy wasn't listening to a word I said. I am personally offended. I am shocked. I am appalled. And to be honest, I will be speaking to my people.
No, I'm just one of the only people who aren't getting paid. And you just happen to see my account all the time. And your bubble is stupid.
Well, actually, I don't see your account all the time because you blocked me. Interesting.
That's what that means. Like,
oh yeah, I just want to say, definitely do not go to this person's stream. I am restreaming their stream and responding to it. You do not need to go to their stream in any capacity. I'm just saying. Like, I just want to be explicit. Do not go to Nico's stream. Do not troll Nico House. Do not give him viewers. Trust me, this guy knows how the game is played. He might pretend like he doesn't, right? But he knows how the game is played. If you give this guy a view, even to dislike the stream, dislike counts the same as a like. Do not go to this person's stream.
Yeah, I know. And like this weird necessity, this obsession with bringing up Tulsi. And then like, as you brag about like, oh, you chose the wrong person, you fell for the distraction. The distraction, so the person with the best policies is the distraction, not the person who was running, who took hundreds of millions of dollars from people in the middle of a pandemic and then quit. And then lied about quitting. First, he said he quit much later than he actually did, just to get y'all to go vote Democrat in the middle of a pandemic.
Now, I'm not so sure about that conspiracy theory, but again, this even proves that this guy has no strategic horizon. And I'm not going to bother listening to the whole after show. I'm going to get into the house. The real house, not this one. But again, this guy has no strategic horizon. He's saying AOC has all the power in the world, right? And he's the mastermind of strategy, and he backed the one who polled at 2%. What? What? The whole debate was about strategy, not policy, and he's going to focus on, we're in a pandemic, people don't have health care, oh my god! Bitch! Duh! Like, I've started the show by saying I agree with the policy. My god, the guy's a dullard. The guy's a primo dullard. I'm sorry. And again, in the words of our president, by the way, that should not be censored on social media.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, only the...
I'm sorry, but like, the guy literally was not even, he was arguing with my chat room. That's funny. I literally didn't pick up on that because I was high. Like, I just want you to be, like, I was blasted off my asshole, right? So I didn't pick up on that. But so I thank you all for picking up on that. No, Ghosty, the guy is definitely carrying water for fascism. Again, he literally was like, I'm a classical anti-fascist. Like, literally, like, what? You're a classical what? Like, a classical Antifa? Like, that was the first time I heard that, and that's really funny. Like, that was really funny. A classical Antifa. Like, what? Right? What? Yo, Alok, I understand you're posting the same shit over and over to get a rise out of me. I didn't respond to it the first time for a reason. You gotta come prepared. If you want to say he beat me, you gotta explain how he beat me for even me to acknowledge your troll. In a way that's not just like telling you to fuck off. But yeah, I mean, like, the guy is just a not smart person. Like, just really a not intelligent person. A classical anti-fascist. Jeez. A classical anti-fascist. My god, that was funny. If this guy doesn't debate me again tomorrow, which he might, again, we'll see. In fact, let me load up the DM group. Hold up. This is what I just wrote in the fucking like, while this guy is raging about me on his stream and lying about my political positions, this is what I wrote in the fucking there it is. Boom. Good show. I love being passive aggressive. Like, just saying, I love being passive aggressive. So. But yeah, let's get into the impeachment, I think, or 25th Amendment, whatever the fuck it is. How was it? I don't know. It was okay. He gish galloped so much. Yeah, I called him out on it, but it doesn't matter because he wasn't listening. Fucking classical anti-fascist, dude. I might actually start using that one. Wow. That's so funny. Let me read the rest of these super chats in the previous stream, and then we'll get into the house. Again, I want to say, everyone, thank you for the money. I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. But okay. Jessica, $5. Nico, Tulsi Gabbard supported a plan to include private insurance, not Medicare for all. How do you defend that? Oh yeah, this guy's dumb. He was saying that Tulsi Gabbard's bill was better. Lol. Right? Amazing. DCK Punk, if you're friends with a Nazi, how are you a 1930s, 40s anti-fascist? So fun. I'm a classical Antifa. Oh my god. Ron Dane Holler Report, $4.99. How do you think we got Trump, Nico? Do you think that you and Tulsi are better than AOC, Bernie, Biden, and the squad and Democrats? I think he does think that, actually. Matthew Odom, if you think 2020 was stolen, then you have to also argue 2016 was stolen. You can't say one was perfect, but question the other because your boy lost? Sure. I agree with that, I guess. But he was saying that both were stolen. I guess. I don't know. I have no idea. Because he did say that, or he was mocking the idea that Hillary said that. No, yeah, what the fuck? No Mickey Cons, $2, heart emoji. No Mickey Cons, $20. You are amazing. That's correct. That's factual, correct statement. Fire Blaze Wolf, $2.50. IC Max, worth tuning in for the pupper. The Good, the Bad, the Internet, $10. Nico, if you're for M4A, then why did you use screenshots of the ACA to lie about Medicare for All? Why did you say you weren't for Medicare for All because you'd loose TRICARE? I'm not familiar with that, but that's certainly very interesting. 01 colon left bracket right, or is it brace? Is a bracket left brace right brace colon 10 $2. Climate change is really changing the world. Sure. Henry Alfonsi, $2. Nico, where are you on the political spectrum? A great question. Proto, $2. How are you anti-fash when you want Trump on Twitter? Great question. Also great username and also great profile picture. RH, $10. Why is it possible for trillions to be printed for defense budgets and corporate bailouts liquidity, but healthcare is all about budgets and such? Question for both of you. There you go. I don't know. Proto, $5. I was for force to vote, but it's clear Jimmy and you are using force to vote as some weird purity test. By the way, there's two choices, Trump and Biden. Agreed. Thank you for that. RH, $5. Biden is not a fascist. He's the corrupt, depraved Weimar liberal that comes before fascism. Agreed. Agreed. You were just trying to change the subject. Well, thank you. Oh my fucking god. RH, $10 in the now stream. Lord. This guy's a liberal. It's all about BS, baffling brains, and celebrity nonsense. I did this, she did that, where were you? It's like describing Kim Kardashian's bubble butt as organizing. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Whenever I watch Majority Report, I watch it in archive form. I don't have time early in the day. Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black
early
robe.
In the morning.
See, this is why I can't do things, because early in the morning I'm at the table with the black robe, so I don't have time. I have to do it in the
early
evening.
in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out the votes. Those votes were put there.
Reminder, Nico House says, we don't know about election integrity, but by the way, I know the personal finance history of every single super chatter in my chat. So, we might not know about election integrity, but I can tell you the routing number for every single person who's ever donated to my stream. Totally. $4.99, Fun Police. C. Burr Demon 531 got you this time. Good luck tomorrow. I just sent that to Nico in a $2 super chat. I should have asked you first, is it's okay? Oh. I mean, okay. I mean, you're giving him money, so I mean, not a great idea. But, I'm just throwing that out there. Funny, but not the best idea. But again, I'm not trying to shit on any. I'm really not. I'm not. I don't want to. I'm just fucking like it doesn't matter. It's ultimately it doesn't matter. I'm just, just saying. Anyway, again, I really do appreciate everyone for being here. I appreciate, just everything that's happened over the last month. I really do appreciate. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was checking my phone. But yeah, I'm gonna get into impeachment. I'm probably gonna watch impeachment at 2x speed. In fact, I'm going to put up a little timestamp here. For me, the stream is at 38 minutes. That's when I start impeachment. Let's just do 40. Isn't black robe synonymous for I don't know. I have no idea. I just think it's really funny. If he was writing a persuasive paper, his resume could convince you of anything. Sure, yeah. But yeah, no, again, I really do appreciate all of y'all for, again, I don't really have any idea how to put into words my appreciation. But I really hope you know that I do appreciate it. Again, I am not Nico House. I don't have a studio. I am not Nico House. I don't get paid to go simp for politicians on TV. Nico House literally gets paid money to go on TV and simp for politicians. I don't get paid for that. And if he doesn't get paid for that, then, okay. But do you get paid to be a surrogate? Or is that like a per campaign thing? I just always assumed you got paid. Maybe you don't. It's totally possible you don't. If so, I hope he doesn't take that out of context. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But, if you don't, that makes it even more pathetic, to be honest, right? Like, if you don't get paid to go on TV and lie, then you're just going on TV and lying. And then it's like, what? You're not even getting paid? What? So wait, you're telling me you're just going to go on TV and say a bunch of bullshit? For no reason? I don't know. It's just like, what? So that's weird. But either way. He grifted off of GoFundMe. To be honest, I don't care about this guy's personal history. I don't. I really don't. And I tried not to bring up his personal history that much. But, when you go simp for a 1% candidate and then say, my strategy is the best in the world, when you worked for a 1% candidate, right? That puts your credibility in question, in my opinion. Just saying. The guy's probably bad, but we'll see if I can mine more content off of him tomorrow. We'll see. Hey, I'm down for a debate round 2. We'll see if he says agrees or what. We'll see. It all depends on his reaction. But yeah, so again, I'm gonna go into the impeachment stuff. We can continue talking, right? Or the 25th Amendment. I'm sorry. We can continue talking, and we can continue talking about Nico House. But I'm gonna get this ball rolling because I want to watch the whole thing. So we'll see. Looks like the stream is off, right? Like, if I refresh this, is it just a VOD?
Mr. Series will vote yes on HRes 38 as the member designated by Mr.
I guess it is still live. Okay, well.
Report to accompany House Resolution 38. Resolution providing for consideration of the resolution, House Resolution 21, calling on Vice President Michael R. Pence to convene and mobilize the principal.
Is it worth it to debate this clown again? Well, considering I got $145.47 in super chats in the stream where I debated this person, my answer is a yes. It is worth it to debate him again.
Officers of the executive departments of the cabinet to activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to declare President Donald J. Trump incapable of executing the duties of his office and to immediately exercise powers as acting president and for other purposes.
Refer to the House calendar and ordered printed. For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania seek recognition?
199. Max was such a good boy. Can he get a little love? Yes, he can. Where is Max?
Mr. Speaker, by direction of the Committee on Rules, I call up House Resolution 38 and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Calendar Number 1, House Resolution 38. Resolved, that upon adoption of this resolution, it shall be in order without intervention of any point of order to consider in the House the resolution, House Resolution 21, calling on Vice President Michael R. Pence to convene and mobilize the principal officers of the executive departments of the Cabinet to activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment.
2x is way too far for most people. I mean, if you want me to turn the volume down, okay. But again, I don't want to be here all night. I'm just going to be explicit. I'll bop it down to 175. But again, this guy is saying nothing.
To declare President Donald J. Trump incapable.
I'll slow it down if important people say something.
The amendment
if AOC goes on there, I'll slow it down. Right, but this is just parliamentary shit.
Preamble printed in the report of the Committee on Rules accompanying this resolution shall be considered as adopted. The resolution as amended shall be considered as read. The previous question shall be considered as ordered on the resolution and preamble as amended to adoption without intervening motion or demand for division of the question, except 1 hour of debate equally divided and controlled.
If you want 4x, you're going to have to not watch this live and then just watch it. We're going back up to 2x.
Chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on the Judiciary or their respective designees. Section 2. The prohibition against personality in debate shall not apply during consideration of measures specified in Section 3 of this resolution with respect to references to the President. Section 3. The measures referred to in Section 2 of this resolution are as follows. A. House Resolution 21. B. Any special order of business providing for the consideration of House Resolution 24.
AOC's in the House, bud.
Section 4A. During a covered period designated pursuant to Section 3S of House Resolution 8. 1. The Sergeant at Arms is authorized and directed to impose a fine against a member, delegate, or the resident commissioner for the failure to wear a mask in contravention of the Speaker's announced policies of January 4th, 2021. And 2. A fine imposed pursuant to this section shall be treated as though imposed under Clause 3G of Rule 2 and shall be administered as though pursuant to Clause 4D of Rule 2, except that A. The time periods described in Clause 3G3C of Rule 2 shall not commence until the Committee on Ethics has adopted written rules, and the Chair of the Committee on Ethics shall notify all members, delegates, or the resident commissioner with pending appeals upon such commencement. And B. A fine subject to appeal under Clause 3G3 of Rule 2 shall proceed unless dismissed within the time period provided under Clause 3G3C of Rule 2. B. Subsection A establishes a standard of conduct within the meaning of Clause 3A2 of Rule 11.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 1 hour.
Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of debate only, I yield the customary 30 minutes to the gentleman from Oklahoma, pending which I yield myself such time as I may consume. During consideration of this resolution, all time yielded is for the purpose of debate only. I ask unanimous consent that all members be given 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks. Mr. Speaker, today the Rules Committee met and reported a closed rule, House Resolution 38, providing for consideration of House Resolution 21, calling on Vice President Michael R. Pence to convene and mobilize the principal officers of the executive departments of the Cabinet to activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to declare President Donald J. Trump incapable of executing the duties of his office and to immediately exercise powers as acting president. The rule provides 1 hour of debate equally divided and controlled by the Chair and ranking member of the Committee on the Judiciary or a designee. The rule itself executes a manager's amendment by Chairman Nadler. The rule provides that the prohibition against engaging in personalities during debate with respect to references to the President shall not apply during consideration of House Resolution 21 or any special order of business relating to the impeachment of the President considered on January 13, 2021. Finally, the rule authorizes and directs the Sergeant at Arms to impose a fine against a member, delegate, or the resident commissioner for the failure to wear a mask in contravention of the Speaker's announced policy on this subject for the duration of the pandemic. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're here today to debate the rule for House Resolution 21, a resolution calling for Vice President Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment and declare President Donald Trump incapable of executing the duties of his office. We take this action solemnly and with grave concern for the safety and security of our nation and its people, even in the final days of this President's administration. Last Wednesday, a lawless mob breached this chamber with the most evil and destructive intent. They were here to take the law into their own hands, to disrupt Congress as it counted the Electoral College votes, and to overturn the lawful election of Joseph Biden as our 46th president. As violent invaders broke windows and rammed doors, they chanted that they wanted to hang the Vice President and kidnap the Speaker of the House, and they brought the tools to do it.
Important. This is great.
Tased others, and tried to shoot one with his own gun.
This is
Another
great.
officer will likely lose an eye. Scores of others suffered head injuries when they were beaten with pipes. Blood was spilled on the marble floor just outside this room. Members, staff, and reporters were forced to take cover under furniture and barricade themselves in rooms, clutching gas masks and fearing for their lives as the President's MAGA supporters chanted and raged nearby. Journalists were specifically targeted and beaten. Explosive devices were placed nearby to divert the police from protecting the Capitol. This was not a peaceful protest. These were crimes against our country and the people who go to work every day on Capitol Hill. Just this afternoon, the FBI announced that it expects to charge hundreds of people with crimes ranging from simple trespass to conspiracy and sedition to weapons offenses to felony murder. Crimes like this do not occur in a vacuum. They must be planned. They must be led. The attack on the Capitol was incited by this administration. For months, they told their supporters that if they didn't win the election was rigged. When the majority of American voters decided they'd had enough of this chaos, they declared that the election had been stolen. The administration invited the President's most rabid supporters to come to D.C. on January 6th for a wild protest. Then the administration whipped them into a frenzy and sent the mob across town to attack the Capitol and disrupt the counting of Electoral College votes. But it didn't end there. The President reportedly watched with excitement as the news media began streaming images of the terror at the Capitol to electronic devices in America and around the world.
This is great.
The President tweeted...
I just want to say, I'm listening to this. I'm not, Listen to what this is saying. This is putting a lot of the factual statements. They wanted to hang the vice president, right? Bringing the weapons that they brought in. This was not like just like, oh, like grandma getting loose in the candy store, right? This is very well said. So I'm just...
Betrayed him. And even after the violence was apparent, the president and his lawyer placed calls to allies on Capitol Hill trying to persuade them to prolong their objections to the counting of the electoral votes. What the administration didn't do for hours...
I love your channel, Elise Acuna. I love your channel. Thank you for your time and dedication during these difficult times. Anytime. Anytime. Also, give Max a head pat for me. His head's like way over there. Oh. Oh. No. Max. No. No. His head's running away. Max. Max. There you go. There's commotion going on downstairs. Anyway.
Was to lift a finger to call off the mob or to rally support to defend the government, the historic monuments in the Capitol, the police, or especially the people under siege in the building. Members here in this chamber know that for hours, the president refused to return their calls begging for help. And in the days since, the administration has continued to claim that the election was rigged. It has denied any responsibility for the riot and praised the rioters, all while reports proliferate that the administration's supporters are planning more violence in the weeks ahead. This is why this president remains a clear and present danger to the country so long as he continues to serve. The reality is that we all, even the most loyal political supporters, know that this president is unfit for office. Any other president with an ounce of character would have resigned after seeing the bloody consequences of the actions on Wednesday. Any other administration would have invoked the 25th Amendment long ago. I don't care if a president incites a riot against Congress on his first day or the last day of his or her presidency. Such an act is a crime against our government, much less against the people who are terrorized or killed in the attack. If a president can refuse to acknowledge the will of the American voters, then incite a coup to stay in power without punishment, then our democracy is lost. That's why it's vital for Vice President Pence and the cabinet to do the right thing, to invoke the 25th Amendment. Otherwise, this Congress must remove Donald Trump from office. I've heard the calls for unity, and I agree that now is the time to come forward in unity, to defend our country, not to defend a man who's proven himself incompetent to occupy the office of the president for another day. I'm grateful to those members of the Republican Party who agree that the time has come to put loyalty to country above partisan considerations, and we welcome their support in taking whatever actions are necessary to end this chaos, to defend our government, and to protect the American people. I also find the cries of partisanship by the president's remaining supporters to be unconvincing. The whole world watched in horror on January 6th.
I did. I streamed the whole thing live.
Of our democracy, to disrupt the election of Joseph R. Biden, and then stood by as rioters sacked the Capitol. Many civic leaders from both parties have condemned the president's actions and called for his removal. So no, this is not partisan. But I invite the president's supporters in Congress, no, I beg them, to join the American people in holding this president accountable for the violence we experienced last week and to prevent further chaos in the days to come. Before I conclude, I want to take a minute to give my deepest condolences to the families of the Capitol Police officers who died as a result of this attack. I want to thank the men and women of the Metro and Capitol Police forces who valiantly defended both our democracy and the people who work on the Hill, and wish a speedy recovery to the scores who were injured during the attack. I also want to thank our tireless facilities and custodial staff for putting the building back together after terrorists violated it, and the members of the press corps who've been so abused by this administration and were specifically targeted by this mob, but continued documenting the attack so Americans could see what was really happening.
Is Nico like legit real mad? Hold up. Is he still streaming? What?
Hell, she'll cower before she even gets pressed.
What?
Oh, I live in poverty, dude. I'm not a grifter. You know that's funny because you sit here and call me a grifter. You got all these people out here making money, literally. TYT just gets a bunch of venture capitalism money from
TYT? What?
Hell, gets, but she has proven time and time. Hey, you know Nico, I was a huge AOC supporter.
Oh,
but
AOC.
Proven time and time again.
Okay, all right.
And lastly, I want to thank our staff across.
I was about to say, damn, there's no way this guy's talking about me. Okay.
To public service. I want to thank you for the work you do every day, but especially for your heroism in returning to the floor last Wednesday night to help us continue the Electoral College vote count. And thank you for being back here with us today. We're indebted to you for your service to our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, my friend Ms. Scanlon, for yielding me the customary 30 minutes, and I yield myself such time as I may consume. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a few days ago, the nation was shaken by the violent and destructive actions of an outrageous mob that stormed the Capitol and attempted to gain access to this very chamber, seeking to harm innocent lives and disrupt democracy at work. I vehemently condemn their lawless actions. This never should have happened. And the perpetrators of these despicable crimes that took place in this building must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. While Americans have the right to passionately voice their views and peacefully dissent and protest, the siege on our Capitol last Wednesday was the furthest thing from peaceful protest. As a result of the violent and frightening events of the day, 6 lives have been lost. This includes 2 courageous Capitol police officers who put themselves in harm's way.
Not a huge fan of the cop worship. I find it interesting, especially that like Republicans would throw the Trumpers that died under the bus. But it's very interesting to see that a Republican is saying such things. And I just want that to be understood, that this is very interesting.
To protect us, secure the building, and restore order. We will never forget their selfless sacrifices and bravery. Our deepest prayers remain with their families, friends, loved ones, and the entire United States Capitol Police Force as they grapple with their heavy loss. As we seek to pick up the pieces and move forward healing our nation, I'm concerned that the majority is proceeding with the wrong course of action. Earlier today, Mr. Speaker, the Rules Committee met and reported out a rule for consideration of House Resolution 21. This is a non-binding resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence to convene the Cabinet and declare President Trump incapable of executing his duties pursuant to Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. I think this resolution is misguided and inappropriate for the legislative branch to pursue, and as such, I must oppose it.
You know what? I agree. They should be pursuing legislation 14th Amendment, Section 3. Remove every elected official who participated in the big lie that the election was stolen and went so far as to object or try to overturn the election results. 14.3? Fuck 25.
Mr. Speaker, under the 25th Amendment to the Constitution, when it appears the President is unable to fulfill his or her duties, it's the responsibility of the Vice President, with the concurrence of a majority of the Cabinet, to initiate the process for making that determination. That responsibility, grave as it is, rests solely with the Vice President. There's no role for Congress in this process. The only role for Congress arises later, and only in the circumstances where there's a dispute between the President and Vice President about the President's ability to fulfill his or her duties. But we're not faced with that situation now, nor is this resolution intended to designate by law another body besides the Cabinet to exercise this power, which the text of the 25th Amendment says it may do. Instead, with today's resolution, what the majority is asking the House to do is to assume a power it does not have. The House has no role in initiating Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, and we should not pretend otherwise. Instead, that power lies with the Vice President, and we should be very clear about what this resolution actually is. It's an attempt to pressure the Vice President into performing a duty he clearly does not believe is necessary at this time. Mr. Speaker, I was here in the Capitol last week, as were all my colleagues. We all had the opportunity to watch Vice President Pence as he fulfilled his duty under the Constitution. He showed sound judgment, poise under pressure, and his actions were above reproach.
I want you to understand the level of beta male energy going on. Republican voters stormed the halls of Congress chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," the vice president of their own party, and they're too afraid of losing those voters that shouted, "Kill the vice president of our own party," they're too afraid of losing an election to stand up for them or to them. This is some beta male shit.
Indeed, he fulfilled his oath of office and acted in a manner befitting his constitutional role. It was
especially Mike Pence.
Statesmanlike performance under the most difficult of circumstances. Despite witnessing the Vice President's sound judgment and ability to fulfill his oath in person, the majority is now seeking to push him into performing an additional action under the 25th Amendment. The Vice President has not done what the majority wishes him to do, and so they're bringing up this resolution now as an effort to pressure him into doing so. This act, attempting to substitute the House's judgment for the Vice President, is not contemplated anywhere in the Constitution. And as we all saw last Wednesday, Vice President Pence's judgment is sound. There's no need for the House to attempt to substitute its judgment for his own. I personally have strong faith in him, and I believe he will consider his constitutional duty in the same manner that he carries out all the other constitutional duties assigned to him, the forthright manner that fulfills his oath of office and attests to his personal integrity. Should the Vice President
Motherfucker, I look away for a second and I'd look back and there's $10 in fucking YouTube dollars. Seriously, like, come on, you're spoiling me here. RH, they're licking cop crack because they are afraid of them and know a high percentage are unreliable, unstable, mutant, fascist, homicidal maniacs? Don't disagree. Not at all. JL, $5. Pear saying hello with a microphone and then it falls. All right. Ian Kinzel, $2. You keep telling me not to send money, you monster. Oh, help.
The amendment needs to be invoked. I have no doubt that Vice President Pence, both as a leader, as a former House colleague, and as a friend, would exercise good judgment with respect to performing that duty. That he's not taken that action thus far is an indication that the House needs to, is no indication that the House needs to push him to do so. His record of sound judgment should speak to us on this issue. As such, I urge my colleagues to reject the resolution. I urge a no vote on the rule, a no vote on the underlying measure, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserved.
Beta!
The gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson-Lee.
Gentlewoman from Texas is recognized for 2 minutes.
Let me thank the gentlelady from Pennsylvania for her leadership and my good friend from Oklahoma as well.
All right, let's
My friend
go.
from Oklahoma may be, in fact, accurate to the extent that the 25th Amendment stands on its own as actions that the Vice President will take. But we are a co-equal branch of government, and Mr. Raskin's resolution is an appropriate resolution because we have a responsibility to govern and to protect the American people. And so this resolution is not in violation of the Constitution because it is the Congress calling upon the Vice President to reflect on January 6th, a day in infamy, to reflect the fact that there were 6 people that died, that we lost 2 precious law enforcement Capitol Hill police. Their injuries in many ways attributable to this, some in different ways than others, and we lost Americans. And clearly, it is a long chain of events that goes back to the President of the United States. The President, when a duly announced election came about on November 6, 2020, proceeded to declare that it had been stolen and continued to stoke the fires of his believers to begin to plan some kind of attack. Because he kept saying, come to Washington, I'll see you there. And then, of course, as time went on, I valued the President's right to the courts, of which he went. But he did not find that to be a solution for him. So H-Res 21 is the Congress speaking, and we have every right as a co-equal branch to speak. Why? We have that right.
Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania.
15 seconds? 30? 30? Okay, 30 seconds, thank you.
Gentlewoman is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
We have that right because the FBI has indicated that they have seen 100,000 digital media, and they'll be looking for more to see those who endangered all of those that were here. My appreciation to police and the floor staff. And
you know what I just remembered? I just remembered I might get some food tonight. I just fucking remembered. Hold the phone. I gotta, like, verify that this is happening. I might get some food tonight. Someone in my family said that they would go to the store for me and grab a few things because they were going anyway. And I forgot that that was happening. So I want to verify that that's still happening. Because if it is, I'm eating on stream.
Law enforcement, custodial staff, our staff, media, and others who were put in harm's way along with members. So I rise to support this resolution because it does not violate the Constitution or the intent of the 25th Amendment. It provides for the Congress to speak to ask the Vice President to recognize that this President is the only one that has ever stoked this kind
Gentlewoman
of
from
action. I yield
Pennsylvania
back.
reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to my very good friend and fellow member of the Rules Committee, distinguished gentlelady.
Do I eat once a week? No. I eat usually once, sometimes twice, never thrice a day. Sometimes I skip a day. Usually I end up skipping a day, like every 2 weeks or so. I'll fast for a full day, 36 hours-ish, maybe 30, depends on how I'm feeling, but yeah, that's my eating schedule.
From Arizona, Ms. Lesko.
The gentlewoman from Arizona.
But I've been wanting to eat salsa and chips. That's one of my favorite foods. I love getting really stoned and munching down some salsa, so that's what I wanted to do tonight. So we'll see. I might do it on stream because, you know, we might be here for a while.
Recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to the rule. Over the last week, we've heard calls from both parties, leaders past and present, about the need for unity.
I also just want to say I will be staying up until this is finished. So, just letting you know, normally I go to bed at 10. But, you know, I drank 2 cups of coffee before the debate with Nico. So I'm going to be up for a while, so I'm just going to say 2.5 hours behind. If I'm watching on 2X, it'll, you know, but still, I'm going to be here for the whole duration.
We've heard President-elect Biden and other members of the Democratic Party call for unity, a path forward for our nation, full of mutual consideration and respect. Yet, here we are today, with Democrats charging in the opposite direction, further dividing our nation by calling for the invocation of the 25th Amendment by the Vice President. Let's consider this for a moment. My Democratic colleagues are demanding Vice President Pence invoke the 25th Amendment and take over as president. With these calls, it is clear they have full faith in the Vice President and his ability to act in a manner that is consistent with his constitutional responsibility. Simply put, they trust him to do the job. Yet, The very demand they are making insinuates that the Vice President Pence cannot be trusted to make the decision to invoke the 25th Amendment on his own. It calls into question the core of his judgment. If you trust someone to lead the nation and be the acting president, shouldn't you also trust that same person to take the steps necessary to safeguard if it is needed? With that, I urge opposition to the rule, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from California, Mr. Garamendi.
Gentleman from California is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today with great sadness and anger over the events that transpired on January 6th, and I rise with steadfast determination to take every possible action to ensure that those who incited and committed the unconscionable acts on that day are brought to justice. Last week's violent insurrection on the U.S. Capitol left at least 6 people dead and dozens injured. It was a stain on our nation and our democracy. They beat police officers. They murdered a police officer. They planted pipe bombs. They brandished weapons, and they left our nation shocked and mourning.
Correct.
Just as this Congress returned mere hours after this insurrection to certify the lawful results of the 2020 presidential election, we stand here today prepared to take firm, decisive, and necessary action to restore our country. No president who invites thousands of his most devoted supporters to Washington and urges them to fight his political enemies by committing a seditious act on our democracy should be allowed to remain in office. If Vice President does not act, then to hold the president accountable, then we leave this nation vulnerable to future demagogues. And that brings us here today on this somber day to carry out our sacred oath to defend and protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will vote to impeach those responsible, and I urge my colleagues to do the same. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we defeat the previous question, I'll offer an amendment to the rule to immediately bring up a resolution establishing...
Fergus115 for streaming such good content, $2. Thank you. I appreciate that. Why are they talking about the 25th? No, this is 25th, Cloud. Tomorrow is impeach. Today is 25th. By the way, I will be streaming the impeachment. We'll see how it goes.
Establishing a bipartisan national commission on the domestic terrorist attack on the United States Capitol. This commission, modeled on the 9/11 Commission, will be charged with examining and reporting upon the facts and causes relating to the attack that occurred on January 6th of 2021, and with providing appropriate findings, conclusions, and recommendations for corrective measures. I can think of no more appropriate path for Congress, Mr. Speaker, to follow than by ensuring a bipartisan commission reviews all evidence and reports back to us on this horrific event. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to insert the text of my amendment in the record, along with extraneous material, immediately prior to the vote on the previous question. And with that,
without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I urge a no vote on the previous question. I yield 3 minutes to my good friend from the great state of Kentucky, Mr. Guthrie, for further explanation of the amendment.
The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank the gentleman, my friend from Oklahoma, for yielding. All of us just still are speechless about what happened last Wednesday. And it's just amazing that it happened here, and condemn it in its utmost words as a violent act against the Capitol building. And we must find those who did it, and we must prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. Every time I travel to Washington, the first thing I look for, as I did today, was if I could see it from my airplane window, if I could see it driving across the Potomac, is the dome. And I always feel great pride that the people of the 2nd District of Kentucky, Mr. Speaker, allowed me to serve under the dome. And when I got there today,
under the
it's
dome,
still the beacon throughout the world. And it's bruised, but it's there. And it's something that we all hold dear. And so the protection of this building, that dome, this building, the office buildings, but most importantly, the people who work here. Not those of us who are just elected to be here, but those who work here in service. I have faces I've talked to tonight on the floor that I was not on the floor when it happened, but I knew the faces of people who were, not just my colleagues, but those standing at the doors here tonight, Mr. Speaker, who've been through so much.
If anyone's curious for trivia, my personal representative is Greg Murphy. So, throwing that out there. In case you're wondering.
And what we defeat the PQ, the amendment my friend from Oklahoma has is a bipartisan commission to examine the circumstances around the attack, as well as its aftermath. It'll be modeled after the 9/11 Commission to reduce duplication and increase communication and info sharing between relevant government entities and law enforcement. The goal is to investigate, find the facts, and deliver reports so this can never happen again. And we can better protect the Capitol complex, and most importantly, the employees that work here serving our great country. And we'll protect them moving forward. We all want answers, and this is the most prudent step at this time. We will follow wherever the facts lead us and take appropriate actions in responce. I urge the defeat of the PQ, adoption of the amendment, and I yield back to my friend from Oklahoma.
The gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserve. Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you. We, of course, share the concern of our colleagues from the other side of the aisle that an incident like this never happen again.
Yo. Passive aggressive, regressive voice. Again, I just want to say, I do not recommend going into their stream. If you do, you contribute viewership, you contribute chats, you contribute to their narrative, and you just contribute to their, at the end of the day, their financial gain. So I don't necessarily care if you troll. Like, I'm not going to be like a moral police or whatever. I'm just saying at the end of the day, like, it might be fun, but I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there, and you can consider my words and disagree if you want, but
That's why we are urging the Vice President to invoke the 25th Amendment, because of the present danger of continued violence under this administration. So while I believe there will be a time to talk about bipartisan efforts to have an investigation through this House, this is not the moment for it. And with that, I would yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from California.
I agree.
Former member of the Rules Committee, Ms. Matsui.
Gentlewoman from California is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of the rule providing for consideration of the resolution before us today, calling on the Vice President to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove President Trump from office immediately. Last week, members of both parties came to the floor of this chamber to take the oath of office. In that oath, each of us pledged to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I believe that oath compels me.
The more accounts you get, the more playbacks, the more views, the higher in the ratings. Passive aggressive, regressive voice. Trust me, I'm just letting you know. Just letting you know.
And my colleagues to act today. Last Wednesday's armed insurrection at the United States Capitol was a coordinated attempt to overthrow our democratic process with violence. Make no mistake, these rioters view the president's repeated claims of fraud as a mandate to act. Lies, misinformation, and demagoguery have consequences. Unfortunately, America witnessed those consequences last week. Some on television, some under tables in barricaded offices, some in these House chambers, and some in the last moments of life. It's not with joy that I immediately called on Vice President Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment. I am co-sponsor of both this resolution and the articles of impeachment because I believe I have an obligation to honor my oath and defend the Constitution against a grave domestic threat. And so, and in a personal note, I'm taking the stand for the future of my grandchildren. Our obligation to them and the future generations is that this democracy stands. And so it's with sadness but firm resolve that I rise to support this rule and implore my colleagues on the other side of the aisle to join me. Thank you, and with that, I yield the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Pennsylvania reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to one of our new members, Ms. McLean of Michigan, who will be giving her first address on the floor of the House.
There you go.
How much time does the gentleman yield?
2 minutes, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Michigan.
First address, everyone. This is it. Dullard is about to go for the first time. What do they have to say? Let's listen to it.
Is recognized for 2 minutes.
What could we
Thank
got?
you. Mr.
What could
Speaker,
we
I
get?
rise today to echo many of my colleagues in the call for unity and a peaceful transition of power. I say this as a believer in the Constitution and the fact that the election has been certified. First, the incitement of politically motivated violence that we saw last week is intolerable. Words have consequences, and yes, the president could have done more.
No. The president literally just said for months that the election was stolen, and then said, everyone, at the end of the day, it's January 6th, everyone. Yeah, sure, the president just said that, everyone go to January 6th, and then we're going to go overturn the election results. But, president could have done better. He could have done better,
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
Cock.
Doesn't everybody need to play by the same rules? So let me highlight some other questionable statements. And I quote, "Let's make sure we show up wherever we have to show up. And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, in a gas station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them..."
Wait, what? Hold on.
So let me highlight some other questionable statements. And I quote, "Let's make sure we show up."
Oh, she's quoting someone that's based. Oh, okay.
We have to. That was not President Trump. Let me give you another one.
Damn it! I was like, fuck!
Don't even know why there aren't more uprisings all over the country. Again, not President Trump. Can we all agree that at times our emotions get in the way because we love this country so much? But I ask you this, whatever is good for one side, isn't it good for the other? We all have the same name on the front of our jersey, and that's the United States of America. And we need to start acting like it and let our actions follow our words. Impeachment only incites more division. It does not provide unity. I offer a solution. I am ready to come together and get to the work for this great country in which we live.
Okay.
Are you?
No? That's it?
Reserves, gentlewoman from...
That was literally nothing. There was nothing there.
I would just suggest that sedition is
First fucking speech on the floor of the House and you give a bunch of nothing? What?
inherently divisive, and it's difficult to unify before there's been accountability. Mr. Speaker, I would yield 2.5 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Suozzi.
The gentleman from New York is recognized for 2.5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I support invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office. Former Congressman Tom Lantos, a Holocaust survivor, would often say, "The veneer of civilization is paper thin. We are its guardians, and we cannot rest." I was sitting right there.
I like this guy's voice.
Our gas masks because the rioters had breached the Capitol. And I was standing right over there as the Capitol Police locked and barricaded the chamber doors, and I heard what I thought were gunshots as the rioters broke the windows on the main chamber door with a metal pipe. And I was standing right over there when the woman was shot outside the Speaker's lobby, and the police radios rang out, "Shots fired in the Capitol. Shots fired in the Capitol. Everyone down." The veneer of civilization is paper thin. Thousands of people, criminals, desecrated our Capitol, breaking windows and doors, attacking our brave officers, and vandalizing offices. rioters wearing army fatigues, waved Confederate and Trump flags, donned Nazi swastikas, and I saw one man who wore a shirt saying Camp Auschwitz, staff. Our president instigated this. The president's duty is to protect our republic and its people. Yet he built a mob, filled it with lies, and encouraged its fight to stop the steal. Now we hear intelligence reports that thousands of armed militias and white supremacists are planning to come again on or before January 20th. My colleagues, my friends on the other side of the aisle, we must together call upon the president to denounce this violence, to tell his supporters to stay home. Mr. President, you must please put America first. You must call off this attack.
Fun Police $2.99. Thanks for making me laugh all year. You're a treat. Donut emoji. Thank you. Thank you.
Not, you must be removed. Now yield back.
Gentleman from New York yields. Gentleman from Pennsylvania reserves. Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities against the president. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my very good friend, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Ressenthaler, who's the newest Republican member of the Rules Committee.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me be clear about something. The violence and the rioting in our capital last Wednesday was tragic, it was undemocratic, and it was unacceptable. I unequivocally condemn this criminal behavior that occurred in this building. Our great nation is deeply divided. And unfortunately, rather than looking forward and working together on issues that actually unite our country, we're here debating a partisan issue, a partisan resolution that will only further divide us. The Constitution is very clear on the issue we're debating. The ability to activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment lies with the Vice President and cabinet members who are vetted and confirmed by the Senate. Congress is only drawn in. House members are only drawn in when the President disputes a declaration of incapacitation.
Hey, Jason. This channel has been the best part of my week. Did you just find me this week? Because if so, you're in for a good couple of more weeks, right? There you go.
Not what is happening here. We should respect that constitutional prerogative. Mr. Speaker, I'm also perplexed by my Democrat colleagues' attempt to force the hand of a man that they clearly have faith in to run our country. They must recognize that by calling for the President's immediate resignation, they're also advocating for Vice President Mike Pence to lead our nation. So therefore, they should have the full trust in Vice President Pence's decision-making and ability to act in a manner consistent with his constitutional responsibilities, just as he did last week. Further, I'm incredibly and deeply disappointed that the rule before us suspends prohibitions on engaging in personalities against the President. It's somewhat ironic. If we're truly worried about rhetoric, then we must set an example and ensure that civility and decorum remain an essential part.
30 seconds.
Gentleman is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, we must set an example and ensure that civility and decorum remain. Work for us suspends prohibitions on engaging in personalities against the President. It's somewhat ironic. If we're truly worried about rhetoric, then we must set an example and ensure that civility and decorum remain an essential part.
30 seconds. Mr.
Gentleman
Speaker.
is recognized for an additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, we must set an example and ensure that civility and decorum remain an essential part of the American discourse. With that, I thank you and I yield back.
The gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you. Just to clarify, this provision about suspending the rule about personalities is so that we can have a full and frank discussion of just why the request is being made to invoke the 25th Amendment and just why this president should be impeached. It would be difficult, if not impossible, to describe the high crimes and misdemeanors and other misconduct which forms the basis of those requests if that rule were not suspended. And as I mentioned in my opening, I don't view this as a partisan resolution.
All right, $5. I love it when they play dignify bullshit game. Oh my god. Yeah, of course it's a partisan issue when one party incites an insurrection. Yeah, duh, right?
We have members from all sides of the political spectrum now calling for the removal of this president. Members might want to check their newsfeed to see the growing list of civic, business, and religious leaders from across the country who've said enough is enough. This president is a clear and present danger. And with that, I would reserve.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania reserve. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I disagree somewhat with my good friend from Pennsylvania. I've had the privilege of being in this body for many years, and I have never seen what we see in Sections 2 and 3 of this rule, in the suspension of appropriate language. And I understand the difficulties of dealing with this issue and respect that. However, in a time when the rhetoric has been over the top, I think we should set a high sample. We've never done this before in my time here. We didn't do it in previous impeachments. The need to do it now is lost on me, Mr. Speaker. So I would hope, again, I have great confidence in my friend. I have great confidence in my friends on the Rules Committee. And so, the rule's a rule. This will almost certainly pass. I would just hope that everybody acts as good as they can. I mean, I hate to put it that simply, but this is an important issue. I respect all the members of this body. I know they have very different points of view on this. That's to be expected. Generally, our debate's professional. Generally, that standard is something we're proud of and something that we aspire to. And I hate to see it ever lowered or any exception provided. I also have great confidence in the Speaker's chair, and I know that they will enforce the appropriate level of civility and decency on the floor. But I just ask my fellow members to please think about this, because we've taken a very important safeguard off the rails of debate, so to speak, Mr. Speaker. With that, I would like to yield 2 minutes to my very good friend, distinguished Republican ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Jordan of Ohio.
Gentleman from Ohio is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, this is scary. This is frightening what's happening. With less than 1 hour of debate, the Democrats bring a rule to the floor that says this: you can say anything you want about the President of the United States of America. No rules of decorum about what you say about the leader of our country. In that rule, they say if you don't wear a mask, you can get fined. No regard to whether you've already had COVID, whether you've had the vaccination. Your mask slips down a little bit, you get fined. In a rule with no debate. In this rule, they say you have to walk on the House floor, you have to go through a metal detector. Member of the United States Congress walking on the floor to represent 3/4 people in our district. And fourth, the rule is for the bill that says we should tell the
So
Vice President.
apparently, Boebert actually fucked up with the metal detector thing. So this is really funny, actually. Hello? Oh, fucking.
United States to work to remove the President of the United States. I've been here 14 years. I've never seen anything like this. And I do not know where this ends. I do not know where it ends, but it is dangerous where they're taking us. You couple this with what we're seeing with the cancel culture mob out there, I do not know where this takes us. I fear for the first...
The cancel culture mob, like the armed insurrectionists that were chanting "Hang Mike Pence." What's worse? Getting canceled on Twitter in a hashtag or being murdered? Right? No, but it's the cancel culture mob. No, it's not the ones that want to murder the vice president of my own party.
The Amendment, I fear for the Second Amendment, I fear for the Bill of Rights, I fear for the Constitution. I do not know where this takes us, but it is scary what they are throwing in a bill that we're going to debate for less than an hour, making these kind of changes. I hope they reconsider. I yield back to the fine gentleman from the great state of Oklahoma.
Gentleman yield. Gentleman from Oklahoma. Reserves. Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
We're prepared to close. Does the gentleman have any more?
Prepared to close whenever she would like.
Okay, then I would reserve.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself to the balance of my time.
Jordan Locke, can we all vote for the People's Party in 2024? No. You want to know why? Because they won't be on the ballot in 2024.
Speaker, in closing, I want to urge all my colleagues to vote no on this resolution.
Now, I just want to say, if you are a serious person, that's my reply for the rest of the chat. If you are a serious person, the People's Party is a scam, dude. I've made a couple videos about this. If you want to ask questions or go in depth later, I'm totally down. But now is not the good time because we're doing this whole thing. But if you want to ask me like tomorrow or whatever, I'm down to have a conversation. But no, if you want to vote third party, I would go with the Green Party or the Libertarian Party. I wouldn't make a new party because all you're doing is doing work that's already been done. I would just go with the Democrats, personally. That's just me, though. Hey, classical anti-fascist.
The resolution asks this House to substitute its judgment for the Vice President's in making the grave decision to initiate procedures under Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. Under the Constitution, this is a role that belongs exclusively to the Vice President and the Cabinet, not to the House of Representatives. Attempting to usurp this responsibility is not supported by the Constitution and would be a historic overreach. Members should also take assurance from the Vice President's strong record of sound judgment. Rather than pressuring him into acting, we should be reassured by the knowledge that he would act on this topic as he does on all others in performing his duty, in a manner befitting his constitutional role as Vice President of the United States. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to vote no on the previous question, no on the rule, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Oklahoma yields back the balance of time. Gentlewoman from Pennsylvania is recognized.
I yield myself the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman is recognized.
After the chaos and potentially, well, definitely criminal behavior that we saw here last week, there's no trust left between this administration and the majority of the American people. The stability of our executive branch is a foundational piece of our democracy. This administration has failed or refused to uphold the most basic duties of protecting our Constitution, our national security, or of respecting the co-equal branches of our government. Wednesday's bloody attack proved that this administration is an imminent and continuing danger to our country, even in the waning days of this presidency. I'm heartbroken for our country, but more determined than ever to fight to preserve our democracy. I call on Vice President Pence and the Cabinet to do the right thing, and I call upon our colleagues to do the right thing, to put our country before the interests of any one man, and to join us in ending this failed presidency. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I urge all of my colleagues to support the rule in the underlying legislation. I yield back the balance of my time, and I move the previous question on the resolution.
The question is on ordering the previous question on the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, on that I would request the yeas and nays.
Pursuant to Section 3S of House Resolution 8, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question are postponed. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
The House gavels out after about 40 minutes of debate on a resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to immediately remove President Trump from office. They will come back at about 7:30 or so, we think, to take up a couple of votes. The previous question vote, they'll vote on the rule, and then we'll also to the two.
Those rule officers and Donald Trump in the historic public service.
No indication.
Yo, sick.
On the
the vote is being offered here because if the previous... And the House this evening will vote on an amendment on a resolution which calls on the Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment, Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, to remove President Trump from office. First, though, some initial votes. This is the previous question vote. They'll vote on the rule for debate a little bit later, and an hour of general debate if that rule passes. This is a Republican effort here. The previous question vote. The vote is being offered here because if the previous question here is defeated, if they vote no, Republicans will amend the rule to immediately consider legislation that would establish a bipartisan commission to examine the circumstances around the attack on the Capitol of last Wednesday. They're voting by proxy. Our Capitol Hill producer Craig Kaplan saying some 70 members will vote by proxy this evening. And another thing that could slow the voting down this evening, as of earlier today, there are metal detectors outside the doors of the U.S. House.
Madam Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Bishop of Georgia, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Bishop will vote yes. He will vote yes on ordering the previous question. Madam Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Thompson of Mississippi, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Thompson will vote yes. He will vote yes on ordering the previous question. Madam Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Richmond of Louisiana, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Richmond will vote
Only
yes.
2 hours
to
go.
On ordering the previous question.
I'm just gonna skip this.
We'll vote no. Speaker, is the member...
Ah, fuck it. I don't care about that.
Peters, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House Mr. Peters will vote yes on ordering the previous question. As a member designated by Mr. Liu, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House Mr. Liu will vote yes on ordering the previous question. Speaker.
Pursuant to House Resolution 8, I inform the House that Mr. McKeechin will vote yes on ordering the previous.
He votes yay on the question. Rounds will be Res 8.
Yes.
I hate this. Just fucking vote. What the fuck? Yo, imagine if imagine watching this live.
Res 8, to remove President Trump from office. The rule for the resolution debate, a resolution urging Vice President Pence and members of the cabinet to use the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office for his actions ahead of and during last week's attack.
Is there no more like bullshit?
Madam Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Baird from Indiana, pursuant to H.Res. 8.
All right.
What purposes does the gentleman from Virginia rise?
Madam Speaker, as a member designated by Mr. Blumenauer, pursuant to H.Res. 8, I inform the House Mr. Blumenauer will vote yes on H.Res. 38. As a member designated by Mr. Lowen.
Unknown story, Stoyle. I yield the balance of the rest of my life to my good friend Andrea Rovenski. Oh my god. All right, I'll take it. Take another like 3 or 4 years, right?
As a member designated by Mr. Peters, pursuant to H.Res. 8, I inform the House Mr. Peters.
Fuck Peters.
Yay. Member designated by Mr. Bill passed by Mr. Paul.
The gentleman from Washington.
Yeah, maybe there aren't 2 hours left. Holy
Sometime
shit. Yo, good thing I didn't do this live. Holy shit, I just saved like 2 hours of my life. Look at that. Talk about speed running, right? Holy shit.
Mr. Speaker, I yield to
Or their respective designated shall be debated.
The duties of his office of the
Okay.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Maryland seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Resolution 38, I call up House Resolution 21 and ask for its immediate consideration in the House.
The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Resolution 21, resolution calling on Vice President Michael R. Pence to convene and mobilize the principal officers of the executive departments of the cabinet to activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to declare President Donald J. Trump incapable of executing the duties of his office and to immediately exercise powers as acting president.
Pursuant to House Resolution 38, the amendment to the preamble printed in House Report 117-1 is adopted, and the resolution as amended is considered read. The resolution as amended shall be debatable for 1 hour, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on the Judiciary or their respective designees. The gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Raskin, and the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, each will control 30 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Raskin.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days within which to revise and extend their remarks and insert extraneous material on H.Res. 21.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield to myself 3 minutes to begin.
The gentleman is recognized for 3 minutes.
We've experienced the trauma of a violent attack on this House of Representatives, on this chamber, and on all of the people who work here. An armed, lawless, and enraged mob smashed windows, beat up and crushed Capitol Hill police officers who cried out in agony, overcame and subdued law enforcement, killed or caused the deaths of at least 5 American citizens, including a heroic Capitol Hill police officer, Brian Sicknick, and 4 other Americans, inflicted serious injuries on dozens of our police officers and other people, including 15 officers who had to be hospitalized. Chanting, "Stop the steal," and "Hang Mike Pence," they threatened the lives and safety of the 3 individuals in the line of succession to the President of the United States. They built a gallows right outside the Capitol. They screamed, "Where's Nancy?" They stormed the Speaker's office and they occupied it. They stole government property. They trashed the place. They terrorized officers, staff, and members. They brandished the Confederate battle flag in the Capitol of the United States, something that didn't even happen during the Civil War. They allowed hundreds or thousands of people to enter the Capitol without metal detector or any kind of security screening at all. Not only to desecrate the temple of democracy and to spit in the face of Congress, but actually to interfere with the counting of electoral college votes in the 2020 presidential election. They may have been looking for Vice President Pence and Speaker Pelosi, but every person in this room could have died. As a shaken Senator Lindsey Graham said, the mob could have blown the building up. They could have killed us all. Mr. Speaker, whether or not you believe the president's course of
Thank
conduct
you, Jordan.
in
Thank you.
building, summoning,
Yes, it
assembling,
is,
and flaming mob,
25th.
lighting the flame, as Congresswoman Liz Cheney put it in a very powerful and cogent statement this evening, whether you believe that that was a high crime and misdemeanor and offense against the Republic, that's a question for another time. And to put my cards on the table, I think it was a crime against the Republic. But leaving that aside, I think every member in this body should be able to agree that this president is not meeting the most minimal duties of office. He is not meeting the oath that he swore to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. He is not protecting and defending the democracy itself, the process of electing the president. He's not respecting the peaceful transfer of power. He is not taking care that the laws are faithfully executed. He is not protecting the Republic against mob insurrection, invasion, and hostility. He is not protecting the Republican form of government for the people of the United States when he allows this to happen. This resolution is simply asking Vice President Pence to exercise his powers under Article 25, the 25th Amendment. I grant myself 30 seconds more.
You have 30 additional seconds. You may proceed.
We are simply asking Vice President Pence to exercise his powers under the 25th Amendment of the Constitution, Section 4, to convene the cabinet and to mobilize the cabinet to state and articulate what is obvious to the American people. This president is not meeting the duties of office and is clearly not capable of it, and to transfer powers to the Vice President under the 25th Amendment. With that, I will yield now for 1 minute time. Oh, I will reserve the range.
Gentleman reserve. Versus time. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will yield to the gentleman from the great state of California, Mr. McClintock, for 2.5 minutes.
Gentleman is recognized for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What a sad and ominous way to begin the 117th Congress. Hasn't this body done enough in the last session to divide our country and abuse our Constitution without carrying that damage into the new session? The 25th Amendment specifically addresses the incapacity of the president to discharge the duties of his office. It was never intended as a political weapon when Congress doesn't like the way he discharges those duties. Now, I've read that speech. He never suggested rampaging the Capitol and disrupting the Congress. He urged him to, and this is an exact quote, peacefully and patriotically.
This is the same shit Nico House said in the debate earlier. Wonder where Nico House got that talking point from, huh? Huh? Right? I wonder.
Make your voices heard. Now, many of us Republicans joined a bipartisan vote to respect the Electoral College votes, despite our suspicions and our misgivings and our desires. We did this because the Constitution commanded it, and our institutions depend on it. Now, today, those same principles should compel a bipartisan vote to oppose this grotesque abuse of the 25th Amendment. Last week, the majority argued that the president tried to misuse the Constitution to overturn the votes of the Electoral College. Well, he asserted no direct power. Rather, he urged the vice president and Congress to do so. Many of us declined his bad advice. Yet this week, the majority directly is asserting power to misuse the 25th Amendment in a manner that does overturn the votes of the previous Electoral College. Don't they see that they are committing directly the same offense they accuse the president of committing indirectly? Every act we take builds a precedent for future acts. Once Congress asserts this new role as armchair psychiatrists and a new power to equate intemperate speech with functional disability.
I'm watching on 2x speed, Steven. 10 minutes behind, so when it gets live, it'll be live. If this does upset you that I watch on 2x speed, I do apologize, but I don't want to sit here for an additional hour if I don't need to. So I'm just going to be honest with you. And again, these people are just saying a bunch of bullshit anyway, you know?
The most important pillars of our government, stability,
so it's like whatever.
The separation of powers will fracture. It won't affect this president, but it will stop future presidents from this day forward. For their sake, please don't do this. Yield back.
Does the gentleman reserve? All right, the gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
I now yield 1 minute to Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
The Speaker of the House, Ms. Pelosi of California, is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman for yielding and applaud him and salute him.
Can we talk real quick? Think about this. Look at what I'm doing. Look, I'm just chilling. Look, see this? I'm just chilling. Right? I'm not even I'm just laying down. Think about the labor that y'all are putting into this chat room right now. Y'all are typing away. Y'all are you're like, I gotta participate in the discourse. I gotta keep typing. Oh, I gotta impress the fellow chatters by continuing to type. Meanwhile, look at me. Look at that. I'm just saying, notice this. I'm just chilling.
Constitutional scholar, an intellectual resource, and the force of justice that he has been as he has crafted and advanced this resolution. And I thank the entire House Democratic Caucus for the love of country, determination to protect our democracy, and the loyalty to our oath that have been so beautifully manifested in this dark past week. Mr. Speaker, a dark week it has been indeed. On Wednesday, the President of the United States incited a deadly insurrection against America that targeted the very heart of our democracy, this temple of democracy, the United States Capitol. Defiling the genius of the Constitution, separate but equal.
Didn't even notice Nancy was talking. By the way, again, Nancy Pelosi's my queen. Just want to throw that out there. Love Nancy Pelosi. She's great.
Attacking the first branch of government. Trying to prevent us from ascertaining.
Jonathan Silva, I recommend watching the debate in the first 30 or 40 minutes of this stream. I can't summarize it. If you really want me to summarize it, ask me tomorrow morning. But if you want to know between now and tomorrow morning, I recommend skipping this stream, going to watch the other one.
That Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be President and Vice President of the United States. The gleeful desecration of the Capitol and the violence against Congress, our staff, and our workers are horrors that will forever stain our nation's history.
Correct.
Americans have died following the violent attack. More than 50 police officers were seriously injured, including 15 officers who were hospitalized. On behalf of the House, I salute and express deepest gratitude to U.S. Capitol Police for the valor that they showed in protecting the lives of members, but especially protecting our staff and those who
Hey,
make
Jake,
Congress
how's it going?
Mr. Speaker, this is a sad day for our country that we have to come to the floor in a way to defend the Constitution of the United States at this time. The facts are very clear. The president called for this seditious attack. For days, he urged supporters to come to Washington for the insurrection. Wednesday morning, he participated in a rally to encourage the rioters to march on the Capitol and fight. And not only did he urge people to march on the Capitol and fight, he further fanned the flames, and he and his family cheered and celebrated the desecration of the Capitol. Later that day, as the dangers escalated, he ignored and flat out rejected the pleas of Congress, including those of his own party, to call off his supporters, the rioters, the terrorists, as they engaged in vandalism and violence. Later that, and now the president is saying that he is not responsible and that his incitement to violence was totally appropriate. The president's actions demonstrate his absolute inability to discharge the most basic and fundamental powers and duties of his office. Therefore, the president must be removed from office immediately. This is a decision we make with the utmost solemnity and prayerfulness, which this crisis requires.
Prayerfulness? Did this bitch say prayerfulness? What?
Unprecedented action, but it is required because it is an unprecedented moment in history because of the danger that he poses. And I heard the previous speaker say that we are objecting to the president because we don't like the way he executes his duties. No, we don't like it at all. Acts of sedition, incitement to insurrection, treasonous activity. And if you are associating yourself with that as the proper execution of the president's duties, you are associating yourself with sedition and treason. Yesterday, in a pro forma section, we introduced the unanimous consent request to take up Congressman Raskin's legislation, which calls on the Vice President to mobilize the Cabinet to activate the 25th Amendment to remove the President from office, again, to prevent him from causing more damage to our country. Who knows what he might do next? But House Republicans rejected this legislation, and so the President's unhinged, unstable, deranged acts of sedition may continue, endangering America and undermining our democracy. Now we are taking up this legislation.
I want to listen to that on 1.0.
Causing more damage to our country. From office. Again, to prevent him from causing more damage to our country. Who knows what he might do next? But House Republicans rejected this legislation, and so the President's unhinged, unstable, deranged acts of sedition may continue, endangering America and undermining our democracy. Now we are taking up this legislation in regular session. After passage, we are calling on the Vice President to respond within 24 hours of passage. This resolution gives House Republicans the clear choice to honor the oath of office, to defend our democracy, and to uphold the sacred trust given to us by the Constitution and by those whom we represent. Mr. Speaker, during the Trump presidency...
By the way, I just want to say, everyone go check my Discord server for a totally good idea.
This 4 years, and especially during this sad time, I recall the words of the great Israeli poet Ehud Manor, and that's what he said when he said, "I can't keep silent in light of how my country has changed her face. Won't quit trying to remind her, in her ears, I'll sing my cries until she opens her eyes. I can't keep silent of how my country's changed her face." I urge my Republican colleagues to open their eyes and to finally hold this president accountable. The security of our country and the future of our very democracy are at stake. When we pray for God to bless America, let us hope that that blessing comes down strongly on us in the next few days. With that, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time and again applaud the great leadership of Mr. Raskin.
The Speaker yields back. Does the gentleman from Maryland reserve?
I reserve, yes.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I will yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Klein.
The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in opposition to House Resolution 21, calling on Vice President Pence to invoke Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. Like all of us, I condemn in the strongest possible terms the violence that occurred here in our nation's capital last week. Political violence is never the answer, regardless of which side of the political spectrum it occurs. And that's a strongly held position on which I've been clear since
both sides dumbass bullshit.
Before my time in Congress. Let's be clear about a few things. The adoption of this political resolution would be divisive rather than unifying.
Oh, Trump supporters tried to destroy the Capitol and kill the vice president. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter.
The Vice President has said he has no intention of taking action under the amendment, so this process is pure political theater on the part of the majority. In addition, no due process has been provided. As a former prosecutor, if law enforcement brought evidence of a crime to me and said, take this to the jury tomorrow for a jury trial, there would be no chance for the defendant to prepare any defense. I'd be violating half the Constitution, the Code of Virginia, over 100 different rules of procedure. In the more than 50 years since the 25th Amendment was ratified, Section 4 has never been invoked. As such, there are no judicial or authoritative opinions that would evaluate its implementation. And absent this, we must look to the legislative intent of the Congress that passed its language. And nowhere in the legislative intent is the current situation envisioned. It's meant to be used for incapacity, not for political ends with 8 days remaining in a president's term. Last week, Vice President Pence was lauded by the majority for not yielding to pressure to exert power beyond his constitutional authority to determine the outcome of the election. Yet, the majority today is attempting to pressure him to exert power beyond the intention of his constitutional role in Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. This action will only further fuel the political divide among our citizens and will be detrimental to the long-term efforts to unify our country. Mr. Speaker, both President Trump and President-elect Biden have called for a peaceful transition of power. I would encourage members of both parties to work toward this end and vote against this rushed, misguided, politically motivated resolution. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
Reserve.
The gentleman reserve. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I now yield 1 minute to Ms. Lofgren.
The gentlelady from California, Ms. Lofgren, the chairman of the House Administration Committee, is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, last week as we counted electoral college votes, I said this day marks a crossroads for our American democracy. We didn't know then what an ominous statement that was. We do now. Congress was attacked by a violent mob incited by the president.
Sorry, I don't care about her. I'm speeding her up. I apologize.
The mob. He said he loved them and made no serious effort to stop them. Lives were lost and put in danger. Constitutional government was urgently threatened. The president's actions were not only wrong, they were dangerous. He lives in an alternate reality. He's a continuing threat to America. Vice President Pence should invoke the 25th Amendment, assume presidential duties until the inauguration next week, and save us from a president who is unable to function, unable to protect our country. I urge all, including my Republican colleagues, to put politics aside. Act to secure the safety of our country. We truly are at a crossroads for our American democracy.
The gentleman from Maryland.
I reserve.
Reserve? Right. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Arizona, Mr.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The violence at the Capitol last week has been condemned by Republicans, Democrats, and by President Trump. So I wonder, why are the Democrats stoking the fire instead of dousing the flames? This 25th Amendment resolution is actually similar with some differences from the proposal filed in October of this year by the same representative and joined by 42 Democrats. The problem that time is they were trying to get this commission together.
Okay. So, yeah, I know that the president and leader of my party tried to destroy the United States government, but I wagged my finger at him and said, hey, that's lame. So let's move on. Let's unify. Unify. I know. My president tried to incite a riot. His supporters wanted to hang my vice president. But I said that was bad. So, can I go home now? Come on, bro.
This time, they want the vice president to invoke the other portion of Article 4. But the problem, of course, is the vice president sent a very lovely letter to them saying he's not going to do that. So our nation is divided. And while folks on the left are trying to lay this all on President Trump, you should consider a few statements from colleagues across the aisle. One of our colleagues at one point said, if you see anybody from that cabinet, meaning Mr. Trump's cabinet, in a restaurant, a department store, a gas station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them and you tell them they're not welcome here. They're not welcome anymore anywhere. Senator Booker called for his supporters to go to the Hill today. Get up, and please get up in the face of some Congress people. And I have dozens of more similar statements. But what we're talking about here today is a resolution asking the vice president to invoke the 25th Amendment and get the cabinet together to remove this president. And what that does, it is basically doing what Democrats wrongfully claim President Trump did on January 6th. It pours gas on the smoldering embers, which consist of tens of millions who believe the integrity of the election was questionable. They feel disenfranchised, and quite frankly, they are more angry than aggrieved. Some believe that by doing this, it's going to be healing. I heard this gentleman say this in the Rules Committee, that doing this today would be healing. And yet the vice president said he's not going to do that. And if this resolution is to ask the vice president to invoke this 25th Amendment,
the gentleman has an additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. If this is what the purpose of this is, ask the vice president, then the purpose is now null. But I suggest to you, it would appear like, if we're going to proceed on, even after you've received the answer that you're seeking, and it's disapprobation of your idea, that the only thing that could be left is to pour gas on a fire. And I'm asking that cooler heads prevail here. This is not necessary.
Dude, his supporters are planning to attack again. They're planning to attack all 50 state capitals. We gotta move on. We gotta move on.
Don't let this get in the way. And just to parrot the last speaker, I'm asking friends across the aisle, don't do this thing.
Gentleman from Ohio, you reserve. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
Mr. Speaker, the gentleman reasonably poses the question, why are we doing this? We think that the President of the United States constitutes a clear and present danger to the Republic and to our people. For example, on the white supremacist websites that helped to build the president's mob, they are now calling for a return engagement on the days of January 19th and 20th. They are calling again for an attack on the Capitol, and they're calling again for the state legislatures now in 50 states to be surrounded. What will the attitude be of the President of the United States? Will he give them aid and comfort? Will he wink at them? Will he send them positive tweets and messages calling them patriots? Also on extreme right-wing websites, they are calling for the President to pardon the organizers of the armed violent insurrection that took place in this body not even a week ago. And what if the President decides to pardon them? We know this president is not living up to the most minimal duties of his office. That's why we are doing this, to protect the public. And by the way, we're not telling the vice president what he must do. We have no authority to do that. We're telling him what he thinks he should do, and that the Congress will be with him, because we know that he has come under extreme right-wing pressure on everything from the counting of the electoral college votes to his positions on a whole range of things to go along with Donald Trump. So we are trying to counterbalance that attack on him from the right to say the people want to see a peaceful way through this. With that, I will recognize Ms. Jackson Lee for 1 minute.
The gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee, is recognized.
Accountability comes before healing, but healing should come. If you look at the Constitution, we'll clearly see that Mr. Raskin's resolution fits the language, an inability to be able to discharge your duties, to exercise the laws carefully. Do you consider these words from the President of the United States to insurrectionists and terrorists to walk down to the Capitol, tells the President, telling them if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore? And that is the attack that the domestic terrorists made on this place. All we're asking the Vice President through this resolution is to reflect on that and to call upon the 25th Amendment to convene the Cabinet to begin the healing, because the President of the United States is dangerous to the American people. That is why we're on the floor today. We hope that he will have an opportunity to reflect, because the Constitution says in many places that the actions of this President is dangerous. People have died. We have lost 2 police officers. Others are in the hospital. And yes, it was an insurrection. It is time to pass HRES 21.
The lady's time has expired. The gentleman from Maryland, do you reserve?
Yes.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from Georgia.
The gentlelady from Georgia is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to quote the President of the United States. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voice.
I wonder where Nico House got those talking points from. I wonder.
Is heard. Go home with peace, with love, and in peace. Remember this day forever. President Donald Trump. I condemn this violence. Republicans have condemned this violence.
What does her mask say?
Trump has condemned this violence, but elected Democrats over the past year have promoted violence, have supported it. They fund it on their Act Blue fundraising platform, and there has been billions of damage caused over this past year in riots all over this country. You know how many companies have endured violence and destruction? I have 80.
Oh. Molon Labe, meaning come and take them, is a classical expression of defiance. It is among the laconic phrases reported by Plutarch, attributed to King Leonidas, blah, blah, blah. All of the associated imagery. It's basically don't tread on me bullshit. Commonly associated with, from what I seem to understand, I see a lot of Oathkeeper and 3%er variants of this phrase. Those are 2 far-right violent militias. So? That's problematic. Marjorie Taylor Greene basically endorsing white supremacists militias at this point. So it's weird.
3 pages here of businesses that had property damage were burned and through the Minnesota riots. Our president or vice president-elect Kamala Harris posted the Minnesota Freedom Fund bail link, encouraging people to donate money to bail criminals out of jail.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Dude, what the fuck does this have to do with anything, you stupid, dumb fucking bitch? Sorry, don't tone police me. I'm sorry.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from Ohio. Do you reserve? Reserve. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
Mr. Speaker, I'm honored to yield 2 minutes to Mr. Tapko of New York. Colleague for yielding. I rise as a proud American who has the distinct honor of serving in this great body. As a member of Congress, we take an oath to defend the Constitution because at times it needs defending. On January 6th, the nation watches insurrectionists storm the Capitol, threatening the safety of countless individuals and successfully, albeit temporarily, disrupting our process. In the midst of the attack, hundreds of Capitol police officers heroically upheld their duty to defend the United States and protect those who work here. Many officers were severely injured and beaten, including one of my former interns. And tragically, one officer, Officer Brian Sicknick, succumbed to the injuries he sustained. To Officer Sicknick's family, I extend my deepest condolences and know that we are praying for you. And to all Capitol police officers, we are deeply thankful for your bravery. Because of you, thousands of lives were protected, and the people's work was able to resume. Now, just as the Capitol Police protected us,
RH says, it says, I'm a dumb fascist settler white supremacist who refuses to take the L. Yes, correct translation.
Congress must match that courage and protect the Constitution, our democratic processes, and this nation. The president's role in this insurrection is undeniable, both on social media ahead of January 6th and in his speech that day. He deliberately promoted baseless theories, creating a combustible environment of misinformation and division. To allow the president of the United States to incite this attack without consequences is a direct threat to the future of this democracy. For this reason, I will vote to impeach this president tomorrow. The bill before us tonight is a non-binding resolution, which requests the vice president to invoke the 25th Amendment, a step he has already said he will not take. It is merely a symbolic gesture, and I will oppose that resolution. After last week's attack on the Capitol, it is clear our nation is more divided than ever in recent history. We began this great experiment over 240 years ago, and to preserve it, we must remember that our faith, race, or political party is not what unites us. What unites us is that we are Americans. I'd encourage members of this body and everyone at home to remember that simple truth. And with that, I yield back.
Back. Gentleman from Ohio. Do you reserve?
No, I will yield.
Maryland reserves.
I will yield 2.5 minutes to the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Bishop.
Gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Bishop, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentleman for yielding. 2 questions as we begin another 24 hours that will deepen the wounds of the country and the disaffection among Americans. First, will you stop at nothing? Second, is there any hypocrisy too far? Let's call this what it is. An ultimatum, an attempt to intimidate and bully Vice President Pence. They're not seeking just the same end as Mr. McClintock, the gentleman from California.
So, wait a second. Let me understand this. So, Donald Trump spending 3 months saying the election was stolen and saying that Mike Pence could single-handedly overturn the results, and then saying we're going to do a rally on January 6th when they count the results, and we're going to try to bully Mike Pence into overturning the results, tweeting the last tweet before the riot took place in the Capitol. Like, literally 30 minutes before or so, they breached the doors. His last tweet was, if only Mike Pence did the right thing. That's not bullying and intimidation. That's fine. His Trump supporters chanting, hang Mike Pence? That's fine. That's great. But the Democrats are doing what?
California said they employ the same means. They seek to bully the vice president who abused power under the 25th Amendment intended to provide for temporary or sudden incapacity of the president, while they claim to be scandalized about the president bullying the vice president 1 week ago who abused power under the 12th Amendment. With all due respect to the gentleman from Maryland, he has not answered, why are you doing this now? Tonight, the vice president has clarified in a letter sent to all of us at 7:34 p.m. that this resolution has absolutely no other purpose. Here are 3 key things he said, and I quote, I urge you and every member of Congress to avoid actions that would further divide and inflame the passions of the moment. Work with us to lower the...
The reason why they're doing this is to get Republicans on the record as voting in favor of Donald Trump after Donald Trump tried to destroy the United States. This is going to be the... Again, you vote to object their election results? What? Right? And then you say that the president did nothing wrong? What? Amendment 14, Section 3. This is all paving the way. They're getting these dumb fucks on the record endorsing Donald Trump's coup attempt, and they're going to use these words against them. Amendment 14, Section 3.
And unite our country. Quote, as you know full well, the 25th Amendment was designed to address presidential incapacity or disability. Under our Constitution, the 25th Amendment is not a means of punishment or usurpation. Quote, and listen to this one carefully. Quote, last week, I did not yield to pressure to exert power beyond my constitutional authority, and I will not now yield to efforts in the House to play political games at a time so serious in the life of our nation. The Vice President has given you your answer before you ask the question. No legitimate purpose to this resolution remains. Your ultimatum does violence to a core feature of the architecture of the Constitution. The framers were emphatic about their purpose to avoid making the president a creature of Congress. The 25th Amendment was not ratified to change that, as you well know. please do not pervert this important protection to undermine the Constitution. I yield back.
Members are reminded to direct their comments to the chair. The gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 1 minute to Representative Cohen from Tennessee.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Raskin. Last Wednesday, I came to these hallowed halls where I served to watch the Electoral College ratify and certify the election of Joe Biden in what was a fair, transparent election, which 61 courts had looked into and all said it was fine. I was sitting right up there in the gallery when a Capitol policeman came in and said, "We're locking the doors. We are locking the doors." And with only minutes of that, I heard the rabble knocking on the door, trying to knock it down. We were then told to put on our gas masks and to evacuate, and we all did it. This was an assault on the Constitution, an assault on Congress. It was a felonious assault. It was an attempt to murder the Congress and our processes to elect our President of the United States. It is the political equivalent of shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue and getting away with it. And somebody needs to stand up to that, and the 25th Amendment is one way to do it, where the Republicans can purge themselves of their own creation who has damaged this country. I ask us to pass this resolution, bring this country together, and get rid of this cancer. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. There's a gentleman reserved.
Yes, I do.
Gentleman from
All
Ohio.
right. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You have 1 minute to the gentleman from Wisconsin.
Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Thank you. This is an absurd resolution callously politicizing an unpredictable tragedy last week. We all know that President Trump called for a peaceful and patriotic march. I must have attended a half dozen Trump rallies in the past year, and they've always been peaceful, wholesome events.
Do you think this guy actually believes this stuff? You think this guy actually believes what he's got written down on this little piece of paper that was totally written by him? And wasn't just written by someone else and handed to him, right? You think he actually believes this stuff? Because I do.
Typical of the thousands of peaceful protesters who remained away from the Capitol last week. I never would have expected this in a million years. This is a horrible event, but not like the Black Lives Matter and Antifa events that went on day after day and city after city with prominent Democrats fanning the flames by mischaracterizing police shootings or apparently encouraging bail for lawbreakers. Less than 2 years ago, a member of this body encouraged...
Is he saying George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose? Is that what he's trying to say? Because that's what they tried to say in the police report, in the police autopsy. Is that what he's trying to say? So George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose, therefore it's okay when the president tries to overthrow the government? What? What? Does not compute.
Encouraged harassment of Trump officers at restaurants, gas stations, or department stores. And what happened? She was rewarded with the chairmanship of an A committee. Even in last week's riots, the speaker tried to preposterously racialize them, which can only lead to trouble, maybe violence. Everybody back home says we ought to get along. Is this the way to start things? It's time to get back to dealing with the people's business, dealing with the cancer culture that's beginning. Thank you.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman...
Cancel. So again, chanting "Hang Mike Pence," that's not cancel culture. Josh Hawley's book getting dropped from one publisher. Oh my God.
Reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson.
Gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Johnson is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For 244 years, America has stood as the world's bellwether of democracy. Last week, the world saw America at perhaps her lowest moment. It was crazy. We all took the same oath when we swore to protect this country from enemies both foreign and domestic. And now, with a domestic enemy having arisen that is crazy, only the Vice President has the power to invoke the 25th Amendment and protect this country from this domestic enemy. The 25th Amendment was written for this moment. And if not now, when would its use ever be appropriate? Vice President Pence, you have an opportunity to put country before self by implementing the 25th Amendment. Please muster the courage to protect America from maniacal behavior that threatens the very foundations of our democracy. Stop the violence, Mr. Vice President, and with that I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Shabbat.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, what happened last Wednesday at the Capitol never should have happened. The actions of those who attempted to breach the Capitol building and then ultimately did.
The actions that happened last Wednesday should never have happened. So here's why I'm going to explain exactly why they happened and why I think they should happen again.
Are inexcusable. Lawlessness and violence are never acceptable, whichever side of the political divide one may fall. Those who broke the law should be and will be identified and prosecuted. In the aftermath of last week's tragic events, most Americans continue to be saddened, angry, and wanting answers. And they are looking to us to provide a positive example of how to bring our nation back together. Unfortunately, if what we're doing this evening is any indication, Congress might not be up to the task. The Democrats' attempt to invoke the 25th Amendment and to once again impeach President Trump a week before he'll be leaving office anyway are, in my opinion, misguided. The push to encourage the Vice President to invoke the 25th Amendment is especially ill-advised. The Constitution is clear that the role for Congress to play under the 25th Amendment is to decide if the powers provided thereunder have been properly invoked in the event of a dispute between the President and Vice President, or the majority of the cabinet. In other words, we are to serve as judges under the 25th Amendment, not instigators. By encouraging the Vice President to take action, supporters of this resolution are abandoning our constitutional role, which could have a significant legal consequence down the road. And even more importantly, rather than help to heal a divided nation, the Democrats' effort will likely drive us even further apart. Instead, Mr. Speaker, we should be turning our attention towards uniting the American people. It's time for us to tone down the political rhetoric, to work together, to solve the problems that face our nation. It's time for us to put aside our differences and find common ground. After all, we're all Americans. I yield back.
We're all
Right,
Americans.
Ohio reserves. Mr. Raskin.
Your 1 minute, Mr. Swalwell from California.
Gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, on January
How much
6th...
time did you yield, Mr. Raskin?
Remember when Swalwell ran for president? Yeah, me neither.
1 minute, yes.
Mr. Speaker, on January 6th, Donald Trump incited radicalized terrorists to attack the Capitol to stop the counting of electoral ballots. Donald Trump won't protect life and cannot uphold our Constitution, so we must do so today. It's time for our country to unite, but unity in a national crisis starts with accountability, and that starts here in the people's house. So let's unite against the violence incited by Donald Trump to stop.
I just want to say I'm just checking my email, and a user by the name of Bert sent me some cash on PayPal. So I just want to say I see you, I hear you. Thank you. So I just wanted to give that little shout out there.
A peaceful transition of power and unite for the safety of all Americans. Let's unite against a president whose hate speech led to the death of a law enforcement officer, and unite for the cops and military who bravely defended the Capitol. Let's unite against Donald Trump, who inspired terrorists to carry a Confederate flag into this Capitol, display a noose, and desecrate the people's house. And let's unite for the custodial staff, largely people of color, who cleaned up after those white supremacists because they still believe in this democracy as imperfect as it was that day. The most essential function of a president is to protect life and defend liberty. Donald Trump has failed to do that and is failing to do that, so Vice President Pence must invoke the 25th Amendment. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
Mr. Speaker, may I inquire how much time each side has?
The gentleman from Ohio has 16 1/2 minutes remaining.
16 1/2.
From Maryland has 16 3/4 minutes remaining.
3/4.
Gentleman from Ohio.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Stevie.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would be remiss if I didn't address the atrocities occurring right here on the House floor today. A week ago, this building was attacked, and instead of working with Republicans to attempt to prevent that from ever happening again, the Speaker and her Democratic colleagues think an appropriate response is to prevent members from exercising their Second Amendment constitutional rights in the very place that wasn't secure a week ago. This attack didn't come from the inside, it came from the outside. And to respond by restricting members' Second Amendment rights in the very institution that is supposed to uphold those rights is appalling. Take note, America. This is what you have to look forward to in the Joe Biden administration. If they can do it right here in the people's house, they will attempt to do it across the country. The plain language of the 25th Amendment is abundantly clear. And although I am an attorney, you don't have to be an attorney to understand that the Vice President is the principle required to invoke the amendment. The beginning of Section 4 states, whenever the VP and a majority of either principal officers of the executive departments or of such other bodies Congress may provide by law declare the President's unable
Motherfucking Abigail, $4.99 for your chips and salsa habit. I only indulge every couple weeks. My dietary choices is I cut out meat, cut out fructose, I cut out added sugars. So the best snack that I can have, there's two that I go for. Two of my favorites. Popcorn, air popped popcorn with hot sauce. And then like you shake it around and the hot sauce gets all over it. My God. Obviously I choose hot sauces with no added sugars. And then also salsa and motherfucking chips. So good.
Discharge. You must have the Vice President invoking this, and you don't. The Vice President has been clear. He's unwilling to invoke the 25th Amendment. It's not Congress's role to override him. It doesn't state in the amendment that Congress makes that determination. The Vice President does. But my Democratic colleagues will stop at nothing to remove this President even a week before his term expires. The plain reading of the 25th Amendment demonstrates that this is wrong.
So this is a dumb argument, just so you know, because, again, the resolution is to urge the Vice President to do something. The resolution is to get these people on the record either saying the Vice President should or should not do something. The Congress is not saying, Vice President, you got to do this or else whatever. I don't know. But they're treating it as if like this would hold Mike Pence at gunpoint or something. I don't know. It's like a bunch of like fan fiction garbage. By the way, literally, these people were held at gunpoint last week. So isn't that interesting? Literal beta male cucks.
Wrong approach. An understanding of last week's events demonstrates this is the wrong approach, and a consideration of the political tactics that we have seen in the recent days, months, and years tells you that this is a disingenuous approach at best and 100% politically motivated. I was elected in 2018, and my entire congressional career has been consumed by impeaching or removing President Trump. And after the Russia collusion hoax, and then a phone call to the Ukrainian president, and then a failed impeachment attempt that resulted in an acquittal, here we are, a little more than a week away from a new president being sworn in, attempting this travesty both to the Constitution and to America as a whole. This is dangerous, unconstitutional, and does nothing to heal this country and move this country forward.
The gentleman from Ohio reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 1 minute to Representative Garcia from Texas.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand before the House floor today alarmed. Alarmed that just days ago.
Speaking of shielding politicians, isn't it really funny that Nico House kept telling me that I was like defending AOC and Nancy Pelosi, and then as soon as I mentioned another politician, he just started defending Tulsi Gabbard like over and over and over again? I love when the people who mock you for defending politicians defend their own politicians. It's great. Jenna Nix, CA, $5. These Republicans are triggering. I've got to tap out, but appreciate you covering. Yeah, no worries. I mean, this is very generic shit. If this is fun for you to watch, that's fine. Right? But, like, this is bonus material. Right? Like, that's what this is. Like, the regular main show in the morning, that's the main shit. A debate with a loser, there we go. That's bonus enough. This is just like, what the fuck?
A sitting president stirred up a deadly attack on our U.S. Capitol. I join my colleagues in calling on Vice President Pence to activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. It has become abundantly clear that this president has threatened our democratic system, has interfered with the peaceful transition of power, and has endangered an equal branch of government. The president of the United States is unhinged, unfit, and unstable, or as we say in my district, está loco el hombre, to the point where he's willing to tear our democracy down unless he prevails in his quest to overturn the election that he clearly lost. The actions taken by this president and those who enable him show that he is unfit to uphold the duties of his office. For the sake of our nation's security, this president must be swiftly removed. Mr. Speaker, democracy is a gift one generation gives to the next. We must defend it.
Expired.
Thank you. Now yield back.
The lady yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
I think Mr. Speaker, I yield 1.5 minutes to the gentleman from
Lame,
Ohio.
but...
Recognized 1.5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to oppose yet another Democrat witch hunt.
Here we go, here we go, here we go. Hold the phone, hold the phone, hold the phone. First of all, torrential rage. Did you ever look at the stuff on the Republican Lee Zeldin? I don't think so. I'm sorry if you send that to me and I just didn't see it because I'm dumb. Yo, Jenna, impeachment's tomorrow. Impeachment is tomorrow. So, if you don't want to show up, that's fine, but impeachment's tomorrow. So this is the one that got into a fight with those at the metal detectors because she likes to carry weapons around because she's a 3-year-old. So let's see how this goes.
The ladies recognize 1.5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to oppose yet another Democrat witch hunt. We should take Democrats at their word when they say never let a good crisis go to waste. While Section 4 of the
Is that Rahm Emanuel? Who said that?
25th Amendment has never been used,
Or is
a
that
plain
someone
reading
else?
of the text coupled with the context of its ratification contemplates a very different scenario from the one we are currently in. It envisions a president's disability resulting in serious illness to injury. To suggest it should be used in a different context violates the very intent of the 25th Amendment. To be clear, this resolution is a divisive political stunt which would have no...
Long before Rahm Emanuel used the expression during the Great Recession of 2008, Sir Winston Churchill is credited with first saying, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." He said it in the mid-1940s as we were approaching the end of World War II. That's according to Google.
No force of law and is a waste of our time.
By the way, I wasn't listening to her. I'm going to scroll
Currently
back.
in. It envisions a president's disability resulting in serious illness to injury. To suggest it should be used in a different context.
A serious illness may be, by the way, main character syndrome. Like, I don't blame Donald Trump for getting main character syndrome. Like, you're the president of the United States, right? If anyone's going to get main character syndrome, it might be the president. But it's still a syndrome. Like, the guy thinks that he's, like, God incarnate. So that's a little bit of a, again, that definitely is an inability, some would say.
Violates the very intent of the 25th Amendment. To be clear, this resolution is a divisive political stunt which would have no force of law and is a waste of our time. Mr. Speaker.
Low cut in the chat. Are you a dullard? If so, let me know now and then we can have a conversation. Just curious.
This resolution is a clear overreach, as invoking the 25th Amendment is not something Congress can initiate. And
again, the resolution is not to invoke the 25th Amendment. The resolution is to urge Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment. This is a messaging bill. So, what?
Must be initiated by the executive branch. Democrats talk about unity, but clearly that's just talk, as their actions only further divide us. Their hypocrisy is on full display this week with this 25th Amendment stunt, articles of impeachment, censure bills, and other efforts to try to punish...
For those of you that don't know, this is the dumb bitch that was tweeting about Nancy Pelosi's location while people with zip ties and guns were trying to hunt her down. This is this one.
Republicans for false accusations of inciting the type of violence they have so frequently and transparently supported in the past. Throughout 2020, we witnessed Democrats welcome, encourage, and even normalize violence. For them, violent riots were effective in advancing their agenda.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman from Ohio reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
Nice job, Lauren. Yeah, we reserve.
Jim Jordan's like, good job, Lauren, good job, please. I know you're in the middle of your sentence, and if you were anyone else, I would just give you an extra 30 seconds to finish up. But goddamn, please get off the microphone. I know, you said you needed to say, you did your social media soundbite, now please, get the fuck out of here. That's what Jim Jordan's thinking. And Jim Jordan's crazy. The guy's crazy. So even if he's thinking that, and won't give her an extra 15 seconds, she must be pretty crazy.
The gentlelady whom I've not had the pleasure to meet yet confuses disability and incapacity.
I love that. Whom I've not had the pleasure to meet yet. That's amazing.
Franklin D. Roosevelt was in a wheelchair. He had a disability, and he was one of our greatest presidents. President Lincoln, according to historians, suffered from depression, but he was one of our greatest presidents. Incapacity is different. Incapacity is demonstrated by President Trump's complete...
RH, $5. Dude, Vladimir Putin, if you want to give me money, all you have to do is hit up my fucking DMs, buddy. RH, $5. Oh, what? Is her Glock pink camo or something? Did the protein shake she's with buy protein shake? Who's the protein shake? Glocks suck anyway, just like Republicans. I gotta learn more about guns. Thank you, though.
Total inability to conform his conduct to the rule of law and the Constitution. I yield 1 minute to Representative McBath.
Gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. McBath is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I came to Congress to make sure that no parent ever experienced the pain that I had.
$3.
I came to
Cold
Congress
beer for your A+ performance today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love Burr. Do you like Burr, Senator? I love Burr. You ever drink some Burr, Senator? You never crack open a good old Burr? I gotta rewatch the Kavanaugh hearings, dude. That was really fun. Would anyone watch me rewatch the Kavanaugh hearings? That shit was great. Jesus. Reminder, some of my first political demos were based around the Supreme Court stuff in October of 2018. I went to a couple of protests for that. That was really cool.
For children who've practiced active shooter drills at the same time that they're simply learning how to read. For families who've lost loved ones to gun violence. And for communities that will never, ever be the same. Last Wednesday, members of this body hid from insurrectionists behind barricades and locked doors. Staffers of this hallowed institution text to their loved ones. They're banging on the doors outside, "I love you." And citizens of this nation watched in real time as rioters stormed the Capitol through shattered windows and broken glass. The result of the president's rhetoric has left
Did she say windows?
And broken, watched in real time as rioters stormed the Capitol through shattered windows and broken glass.
I'm sorry.
The result of the president's rhetoric has left 5 Americans dead. Our response to anyone who seeks to overthrow the will of the people must be unwavering and resolute. I didn't come to Congress to do this, but President Trump's actions warrant his immediate removal from office. And I yield back the balance of my
Gentlelady yields
time.
back. The gentleman from Maryland reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
Yield a minute and a half to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Fowler.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to speak against this resolution. I'm at a loss. I can't believe the very first time that I have the honor and privilege to address this august chamber is to talk about removing the President of the United States because he held a permitted, legal, and peaceful rally. It's nothing but a wasteful political grandstand.
Yo, the whole thing is not wasteful. It's a messaging bill to get your dumb ass, whoever this guy is, I wasn't paying attention, whoever this dumb fuck ass, to go up there and say, yo, Trump's cool, bro. He didn't do anything. And then 14th Amendment Section 3 comes along. Hey, Representative Dumbfuck McShitfuck said that Trump's cool, bro. He didn't do anything. We clearly investigated and found that Trump did do something. So this dumbass, see ya. Come on, man. Dumb bitch. Also, look at Max. His head's on the pillow. He puts his head on the pillow. I love him. Look at this dog. Look. Hello, Max. Hello. $20, Captain Gwendolyn. Thank you. Hey, I saw a segment of your debate with Nico. Remember that Nico's a Tolstan from his bad debate that he had with Vaush and came to check you out. Also, hello. Hey. Hi. Glock rad, but also polymers are basically the same. You saw a segment? What do you mean by a segment? Like a clip made by a third party? Or you saw it live and then came back to say this? Like, define that for me. I'm just curious.
Mistake. January 6th was a dark day in our esteemed nation's history. It was a dark and sad day. On the afternoon of January 6th, a mob breached our sacred Capitol. Donald Trump didn't. A mob destroyed property and vandalized historic treasures and ran amok on these grounds. But Donald Trump didn't. A mob committed despicable and evil acts of violence against fellow Americans.
Saw it live? Cool.
In fact,
cool.
Donald Trump urged, in fact, demanded peaceful dissent and nothing more. Our colleagues on the other side of the aisle want us to unnecessarily remove a president when we're measuring the time he has left, not in years, months, weeks, or days. He's got 182 hours left in office. You don't achieve unity by simply saying it.
That's actually a good point. This guy's only got 182 hours left? Hell yeah!
You achieve unity through actions. This resolution accomplishes...
I might have to walk Max sometime soon. How long have I been streaming? 2 hours? Okay. Who's up next? Ugh, Matt Gaetz. I might have to walk Max sometime soon, so I'm just throwing that out there, maybe in the next, 5-10 minutes.
Not unity, but rather is a waste of time and fosters further divisiveness.
When I say walks, I mean I like at night I just run them around in the front lawn and he pees on everything, and then so it's not like it's only 5 minutes. I'm just saying.
Divisiveness, and I'm going to vote no on this resolution. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I yield to Representative Neguse for 1 minute.
Gentleman from Colorado is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I had planned remarks here, but I have to respond to my colleague. His words are simply too much to bear. He talks a lot about the mob and culpability. Who summoned the mob? Who encouraged the mob? Who incited the mob? You know as well as I do that the president did. I stood here 6 days ago in this exact same spot, and I quoted Lincoln's admonition that we shall nobly save or meanly lose the last best hope of earth. And less than 10 minutes later, a violent mob breached the Capitol, the first breach of this hallowed building, the citadel of liberty since the War of 1812. The Congress must respond. Our undertaking here is not about politics. It is a matter of conscience. I support the distinguished gentleman from Maryland's resolution. I pray that the Vice President will honor his oath, reconsider, and invoke the provisions of the 25th Amendment. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
Yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates.
The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gates, is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, they may be calling on the Vice President, but based on his letter, he's not answering. Everybody in this country knows that they wanted to impeach President Trump on his first day in office. It looks like they're going to...
Yeah! Why do you think we wanted to do that, you dumb bitch? Like, yeah, the Democrats knew that Trump was an unstable whack job and wanted to impeach him before he actually decided to storm the Capitol. I disagreed. Then he stormed the Capitol. But here's why that's a good thing. I'm Matt Gates.
I want to impeach him on his last day, too. But all he did in the middle was rescue our economy, rebuild our military, reform the VA, and reduce America's involvement in foreign wars. Now, I joined the bipartisan caucus condemning the violence that we saw at our Capitol, but the hypocrisy is just downright disorienting. President Trump called for protests that would be peaceful and patriotic. He got labeled a national security threat. Yet the gentlelady from California can call on her supporters to get physical and in the faces of Republicans, and she gets the chairmanship of the Financial Services Committee. Republican members of Congress...
Imagine making that comparison. Inciting a riot that killed 6 people versus, hey, you should protest politicians.
Congress utilized a process contemplated in the Constitution to offer an objection, and we were labeled seditionists. Democrat members of Congress raised funds for groups attacking our police, burning our cities, destroying our businesses, establishing autonomous zones, and they were celebrated as justice warriors. Wednesday, they called for unity, democracy, and healing. Now, just days later, seeking power and political advantage, the Democrats have reverted to the mean. They've gone back to their natural state, the party of impeachment, removal, and division. They're about to have unified control of the government. Maybe they'd use this time to preview an agenda for the American people. Now, the last 2 times the 25th Amendment was invoked, it was to facilitate a colonoscopy. Now they're using it to facilitate a transition to Joe Biden. How weird. Why? I'd call it virtue signaling, but there is no virtue in it. This removal effort isn't for America. It's for them, for their ability to showcase and wield power. And we see the power of cancellation and removal on full display in America today. Forbes magazine has called for White House officials to be shamed and unemployable. ABC News has called for the cleansing of the Trump movement. I don't know what that means, but talking about cleansing our fellow human beings sure is scary.
Imagine being this guy. Like, this guy, dude. This guy.
Big tech has driven consumers and conservatives off of monopolistic platforms, and then when we created our own platform, Parler, it was nuked from the internet altogether. The gentlelady from New York was booted from a Harvard advisory board because she took an adverse position on electors that had been taken by every single member of the Congressional Black Caucus in 2001. Cancellations for some, celebrations for others, for doing the exact same thing. The President of the United States can't tweet or post on Facebook, but we know from Project Veritas that the principal counsel for PBS can call for the government to steal children from Republicans and throw Molotov cocktails at the White House. We should allow America to heal before America is lost, but that is not happening today. I'd request 30 more seconds.
The gentleman is given 30 additional seconds.
The deal now is House Democrats just want in on the act. That's the purpose of the resolution today. They want to show you that they can still tear things down. I guess over the next 2 years, we'll see if they're capable of building anything or anyone up. This is a deeply unpopular impeachment. The public wishes we were here dealing with coronavirus, not the virus.
Oh, reminder, this guy thought it was fake. Just saying. This guy thought it was fake. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to leave the C-SPAN stream on while I go walk Max. So I hope nothing breaks. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'm going to go walk Max. I will be right back. Enjoy listening to C-SPAN. If anyone new pops in the chat, tell them I'll be right back. I'm walking the dog.
Of Trump hatred that you seem to have found no vaccine for. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Ohio reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is now recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I heard one of our colleagues say it was the fault of the mob, not Donald Trump. But who summoned the mob? Who created the mob? Who assembled it? Well, you don't have to trust us if you don't like what you call Democrat members. We do prefer Democratic members for the new ones. But how about this? Listen to the chair of your own conference. The chair of the Republican conference, Liz Cheney, said, the President of the United States summoned this mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack. Everything that followed was his doing. None of this would have happened without the president. So you can hate the Democrat members all you want. That is the chair of the Republican conference, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1 minute to Ms. Maloney.
New York, Ms. Maloney, the chair of the Government Oversight Committee, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like all of us in this chamber, the Vice President and the Cabinet swore in their oaths of office to protect and defend the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic. Now they must fulfill that oath by invoking the 25th Amendment. Donald Trump's reckless actions on and leading to January 6 underscore that he is a clear and present danger to our democratic traditions. He repeatedly and blatantly lied, spouting baseless claims of a stolen election and fraud. He called on his supporters to come to D.C. on January 6th, a day which he said, I quote, will be wild, end quote, and willfully incited an armed and deadly insurrection against another branch of our government. President Trump must be held accountable, and we must return to the peaceful transfer of power. I urge a yes vote and yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from Maryland reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
Mr. Speaker, we would reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I yield to Mr. Clyburn for 1 minute.
The gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Clyburn, the majority whip, is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this resolution. In recent days, it has become indisputable that this president is unable to uphold his oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. On the contrary, he seems only capable of attacking the Constitution. Never before has the president sought to overturn a fair and secure election, threatening state officials to manufacture fraudulent votes. Never before has the president incited mob violence to block certification of his opponent's victory. Never before has the president refused to condemn and demand the cessation of an attack on our country. The devastating bruises on our nation's soul can only begin to heal by removing the weapon used to bludgeon us. The Vice President must invoke the 25th Amendment to immediately remove power from this dangerous president. And if he doesn't, we must vote to impeach. I'll yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio, Gentleman reserves. Mr. Raskin, you may proceed.
I yield 1 minute to Mr. Krishnamurthy from Illinois.
Gentleman from Illinois is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so glad our friends have changed their mantra from stop the steal to start to heal. But in order to heal, you have to take strong medicine, and that medicine happens to be the truth. My friends, the truth is, unfortunately, this president is no longer fit to serve. We cannot trust this president to protect American democracy after he encouraged his supporters to quote unquote fight like hell in storming the Capitol. We cannot trust him to protect American safety after he told these violent seditionists that, quote, we love you, you're very special, close quote. We cannot trust this president to tell right from wrong, even today, when he said that his remarks on January 6th were, quote unquote, totally appropriate. Mr. Speaker, we cannot trust this president to protect us when he instigated a mob that tried to kill us. I yield back.
Yields back. The gentleman reserves.
Reserve.
Mr. Jordan, you're recognized.
We reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 45 seconds to Mr. Soto from Florida.
Gentleman is recognized for 45
seconds.
45 seconds. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I was in the gallery right behind us when the Capitol was breached. Then domestic terrorists breached the rotunda. I heard the loud sounds of gunshots through this sacred chamber. And my last images were brave Capitol Police, guns drawn to protect us. This was the first armed insurrection in over 200 years. And who incited this violent insurrection? Donald J. Trump. Our resolution states these protests were encouraged by him. He urged millions of his followers to come and stop the steal, which is a lie. And let's say this now for the record and for the ages. Joe Biden won. And for this high crime nearly ripping our country back, we should be removing him by the 25th Amendment, or he should be impeached.
You got a duck in your mouth.
Back
You got a duck
from Maryland
in your mouth,
reserves.
you dang
The
dog.
gentleman from Ohio.
I think we'll reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I yield to the distinguished Congress lady from California, Ms. Waters.
Hello.
Gentleman from California,
You got
Ms.
a duck in your
Waters, the
mouth.
chair of the Committee on Financial Services.
You got a duck in your mouth. All right.
Are you yielding, Mr. Raskin?
1 minute.
Gentleman yields to the gentlelady. 1 minute.
Max has a toy duck.
Gentlelady is now recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker.
Here we go. This ought to be good.
On January 6, 2021, domestic terrorists the president has empowered for years stormed the Capitol, desecrated the People's House, and threatened
Jeff.
the lives of the Speaker, Vice President, and countless other members and staff.
It was really
None of us
fun.
will ever
Definitely
forget
worth
that
a watch.
day. The invasion of the Capitol was not only foreseeable, it was inevitable because of the many years the president has spent fanning the flames of hatred and racism in our country. The facts are clear. The president rallied his supporters at the White House and then sent them to the Capitol to disrupt our democracy and overturn an election. I won't spend another second explaining why Donald Trump should have long ago been removed from office. Donald Trump showed us who he was from the very beginning. Too many people turned a blind eye.
Yep.
And last Wednesday, our country paid the price. I yield back to balance.
He yields back.
How much time do both sides have remaining, please?
The gentleman from Maryland is advised that he has 7 3/4 minutes remaining. The gentleman from Ohio has 8 minutes remaining.
I reserve.
The gentleman reserves.
Mr. Speaker,
gentleman from Ohio.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as
By the way, I've been informed that I will be acquiring my foodstuffs in the morning. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable.
might use. This past year, government told Americans you can't go to church, you can't go to work, you can't go to school. 1 hour ago, Democrats told Republicans.
Breaking scoop, Dianne Feinstein is going to run again in 2024. Love to see it.
New rules for the House. Today,
The House is debating whether or not to urge Mike Pence to utilize the 25th Amendment. Purely symbolic. It's to get these people on the record. Impeachments tomorrow.
you can say anything you want about the president. No rule on decorum. No.
It's just literally, it's one of those messaging bills. Like the bill says, hey, Mike Pence, you should do this. That's it. It's like a marker, like that kind of stuff. That's what I was promised too, classical anti-fascists. That's what I was promised too. I'm pissed.
No rule about attacking personality. They can say anything they want. We've seen that they've done that. Today on the floor, Got to wear a mask. If your mask comes below your nose, you're going to get fined. And in order to come in here and debate and represent, constitutionally represent your constituents, the 750,000 people we all get the privilege of serving, you had to walk through a metal detector. And they did all those changes with less than 40 minutes of debate. And tomorrow, they're going to impeach a president who is leaving office in 8 days. 8 days before there will be a peaceful transfer of power, just like there has been every other time in American history. But they're going to do impeachment. They're going to do it again. They've been obsessed with it. It is truly an obsession. People on the Democrat side started calling for impeachment the day President Trump was inaugurated. They attacked him before he even won the first election, before he won in 2016. They attacked him that summer when they started their investigation. This is scary where this goes, because this is more than about impeaching the President of the United States. This is about canceling the President and canceling all the people you guys disagree with. And that's what scares me more than anything. We have seen it play out over the past several days. I never thought I'd see the things that we are now witnessing. And I don't know where it ends. But I tell you what, it should scare us all. And I said this in the Judiciary Committee, and the gentleman from Maryland will remember this. The cancel culture doesn't just go after conservatives and Republicans. It won't just stop there. It'll come for us all. That's what's frightening. And I hope you all recognize that. And at some point,
let me get this straight. So, the Republican president leads an armed mob of insurrectionists who want to go kill the Republican vice president because the Republican president told them that the Republican vice president could overturn the election results. So, that's not cancel culture. That's just cool. That's just like, they're just chilling First Amendment, right? What's cancel culture is saying, hey, Mike Pence, your boss is kind of weird. That's cancel culture.
And actually do things that help those folks back home that we all get the privilege of representing. Reserve our time, Mr. Speaker.
Gentlemen, reserve.
How am I fucking 9 minutes?
Thank you. The cancel culture of violent white supremacy tried to cancel out all of our lives last Wednesday. I yield 1 minute to Congressman Panetta.
Gentleman from California, Mr.
Let's go. Thank you, Raskin. Thank you. That was brilliant.
On January 7th at 4 in the morning, I was right outside those doors where 14 hours earlier, a rider was shot as she violently tried to enter this chamber. It was in that early morning and at that location that I had a brief conversation with Vice President Mike Pence right after we finished certifying the Electoral College. I was proud that we did our job that morning, despite the violence we experienced earlier that day. But I knew that was not enough because of the seditious actions by President Trump before that riot and his inaction during that riot. So I said to the Vice President, it's up to you to keep us safe. Tonight, with the President still in office, I'm beyond asking. I'm legislating to compel the Vice President to convene the Cabinet to conclude that the President is not just unable, but clearly he is unwilling and unworthy to discharge his duties. So through this legislation, I ask my colleagues to call on the Vice President to invoke the 25th Amendment, yes, to keep us safe and keep this nation secure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman reserved. Yes. Gentleman from Ohio.
Recognize the gentlelady from New Mexico, Ms. Harrell, for 1 minute.
Gentlelady from New Mexico is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to the misuse of the 25th Amendment. To preserve separation of powers, the authors of the 25th Amendment correctly intended Section 4 to be initiated by the Vice President, not by the request of Congress.
This is not being initiated, motherfucker. It's literally passing a resolution that says, hey, Mike Pence, your boss is kind of a whack job. You should consider utilizing this thing over here. That doesn't mean it's initiated. Like, what? What? So dumb. So dumb.
Process concerns aside, the fact is removing the president from office will not heal our nation. It will not bridge our partisan divides, give Americans hope.
It will. It will.
Together. It will only make things worse. With
No.
days away until President Trump leaves the
No.
White House and just days until our new Congress, we have more important things to do.
Dumbass.
We should hold big tech accountable. We should be working to help families and small businesses get through the pandemic. We should be working on jobs, on infrastructure, on energy.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ
are responsible for their criminal acts and must be brought to justice. I cannot support the the 25th Amendment. But I'm also tired of the double standard.
Someone clip that. Hold up. Get your screen recorder up.
And must be brought to justice. I cannot support the Second Amendment.
And stop.
The 25th Amendment. But I'm also tired of the double standard, the double talk, and the double trouble that we brought upon the American people. And we have got to stand for our Constitution. This is our Nehemiah moment, and we better take it for granted. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Ohio. Gentleman reserves. Mr. Raskin?
I yield to Dr. Beera, 45 seconds.
Gentleman is recognized for 45 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, just over a week ago, we all took the oath of office. All of us, Democrats and Republicans. And part of that oath was to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. It's quite clear what happened last Wednesday, a domestic attack on our government, a domestic attack on this body. Republicans have already acknowledged who instigated that attack. The lead instigator was the President of the United States. Now it is our solemn duty to uphold that oath, to defend our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. There is nothing more solemn than what we have to do. If my colleagues don't want to instigate the 25th Amendment, that's one mechanism. We'll give you an opportunity tomorrow to impeach the President. That's our duty. That's what we have to do. Let's uphold our oath. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Maryland. Reserves. Gentleman from Ohio. We reserve. Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
I yield 45 seconds to Mr. Gomez.
45 seconds is yielded to Mr. Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're here tonight because a violent mob incited by the President of the United States, based on a lie, laid siege to Congress to overturn a presidential election. But we have to ask ourselves, what would have happened if that mob succeeded? Why stop at one election? Why not two? Why not make Donald Trump president for life?
Thank God that did not happen and they did not succeed. However, even after that terrible day of January 6, 2021, Donald Trump is still using the lie of a stolen election to turn American against American for his own selfish ends. I believe, even with only a few days left in office, that Donald Trump is still a danger to our republic and must be removed immediately. And as a fact, and as an example, today the Joint Chiefs of Staff issued a statement
Gentleman is granted an additional 10 seconds.
And today the Joint Chiefs of Staff issued a statement reaffirming their devotion to the rule of law and affirming that Joe Biden will be the 46th president of the United States. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Raskin, you reserve. Gentleman from Ohio.
We reserve.
Gentleman reserves.
I yield 1 minute to Mr. Velasquez from New York.
Gentlelady from New York, the chair of the Committee on Small Business, is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of this resolution. Impressionable children are watching all of this, and they are learning from us. I believe
Correct.
they each have a moral obligation to exercise good judgment and model the behavior we hope they will emulate. That was Betsy DeVos. As
Great
I am sure
question,
is the case with many
Stoyle.
of you, it has deeply troubled me in a way that I simply cannot set aside. That was Elaine Chao. Mr. Speaker, these were members of the President's own cabinet who bore the sacred responsibility of taking action when the President is clearly unfit for office. But the words are
Past my bedtime. I'm just chilling. So, bear with me.
all talk. And if they will not act, then Congress will. So today, we are giving the Vice President 24 hours to do right by the American people. Remove this President from office, and if you do not, the House will impeach. I yield back.
He yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
Reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Back to you, Mr. Raskin.
I yield 1 minute to the distinguished gentleman from California, Mr. Schiff.
The gentleman from California, Mr. Schiff, is recognized
Now,
1
this
minute.
fucking guy?
6 days ago, I was standing right here, fulfilling my constitutional duties to certify.
This guy's voice triggers me. I watched, and I should have streamed it, but, you know, my show is not in the current state it was, but I watched the entirety of the impeachment, all the hearings, all of it. Adam Schiff's, I never want to listen to another word Adam Schiff says ever again. The way he speaks, his cadence really is just fucking, ugh.
The election. And 6 days ago, Donald Trump was on
Now,
the wall.
that being said, I agree with a lot of what he says, but again, just the way he speaks, and it's just, my God, I'm triggered right now.
Whipping a mob into a frenzy with false claims of stolen elections and unconstitutional schemes. It was a big lie. The same big lie he'd been telling for weeks. He told the mob, we are going to the Capitol.
I love it, though. Big lie. See, I love what he's saying right here. I love it, but, like, God, I hate him.
And to fight like hell, and they did. 5 died, many more were hurt, and we were seconds away from something much worse. My colleagues, upholding our oath, the Constitution, and our democracy means recognizing that every second that Donald Trump is president, the nation is at risk. We have the power to do something about it. Mike Pence must do his duty and invoke the 25th, and if he won't, we will move with urgency to do ours and impeach Donald Trump again. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Reserves. From Maryland, the gentleman from Maryland is advised that he has 2 3/4 minutes remaining. The gentleman from Ohio is advised that he has 4 3/4 minutes remaining. The gentleman from Ohio.
Yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Davidson.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized. 3 minutes.
I thank the gentleman. Mr. Speaker, I can't say it better than the Vice President said it himself. Vice President Mike Pence said, last week I did not yield to pressure to exert power beyond my constitutional authority to determine the outcome of the election. And I will not now yield to efforts in the House of Representatives to play political games at a time so serious in the life of our nation. I ask unanimous consent to submit this to the record.
Without objection.
I thank the Vice President for his excellent leadership, for his professionalism, and frankly for his faithfulness to our Constitution.
If I just want to say this, and I want this to be part of, like, you know, if I am ever in the House of Representatives, in any capacity, and someone asks for unanimous consent to put, like, a dumb fuck paper in the record, I will object. I just want you to know that. Like, if some dumb fuck wants to put, like, a fucking far-right Breitbart article into the... No, I'm sorry, I'm objecting. Even if they still put it in there, I'm going to object.
Not only would it be an abuse of the 25th Amendment for Mike Pence to invoke it to make a political statement, it's clearly not our role in Congress to do what we're doing here tonight, or is proposed to do by the majority. Speaker Pelosi claims that President Trump incited the mob that attacked the Capitol at a rally. Well, as Mr. McClintock spoke earlier, he read the President's statement. He encouraged people to come peacefully and patriotically. The Washington Post is reporting something that I would hope that our chairman of the Intel Committee would know about. The FBI report warned of war at the Capitol the day before the attack on our Capitol. I'm curious how someone proposes that the President incited the mob at a rally the day before the rally. I ask unanimous consent the article be submitted to the record.
Without objection.
Wait. What? How did someone incite a mob a day before? By telling them what he's going to do tomorrow? What?
Capitol the day before the attack on our Capitol. I'm curious how, earlier, he read the President's statement. He encouraged people to come peacefully and patriotically. The Washington Post is reporting something that I would hope that our chairman of the Intel Committee would know about. The FBI report warned of war at the Capitol the day before the attack on our Capitol. I'm curious how someone proposes that the President incited the mob at a rally the day before the rally. I ask unanimous consent the article be submitted to the record.
Without objection.
You know, others are reporting a timeline that has the breach out of sync as well, but that highlights the importance. There's far too little that we know about this attack on our Capitol. Here's what we do know. No one has defended this attack on our Capitol. On our contrary, we are missing, willfully missing, in my opinion, a moment of extreme unity in our nation, just like was willfully done earlier this year. At a time of great political and partisan division, even seething anger, one thing all Americans seem to agree on: these attacks were wrong. The President condemned them, He discouraged violence, not just on January 6th, but on other days throughout the year, as he talked about law and order, as he talked about something that we finally seem to agree on, that there is a clear distinction between the Constitution's First Amendment protection of the right to assemble peaceably and riots. Criminal, unlawful riots. There's a distinction between rioters and protesters, and frankly, it took us months to agree on that as a body in Congress, but the people of the United States of America agreed to it, they understood it. So I encourage my colleagues across the political spectrum, the members of Congress here gathered together today and tomorrow, to stand united and move forward with the agreement our country has. This was wrong, and it was not.
The gentleman from Ohio.
30. Additional.
Gentleman from Ohio reserves. Gentleman from Maryland.
3/4 of a minute to Mr. Espillat from New York.
Gentleman from New York, Mr. Espillat, is recognized for 45 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've all known for a while now, but this past week, it has become undeniably clear Donald J. Trump is unfit. To the Secretary of Agriculture, Defense, Commerce, and Education and Transportation, he is unfit. To the Secretaries of Human Services, Homeland Security, Housing, Interior, and Labor, he is unfit. To the Attorney General, he is unfit. To the Vice President of the United States, he summons his goons. They shed their hoods and came with their racist Confederate flag to assassinate him, to assassinate the Vice President. He is unfit. Invoke the 25th Amendment. If not, we will impeach him tomorrow. And I yield back.
Back. The gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Ohio.
Well said.
Reserves. Mr. Raskin.
I'm yielding 45 seconds to Mr. Davis of Illinois.
The gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Danny Davis, recognized for 45 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After listening to all that I've heard this evening, I still have the faith and belief that we can come together as a unit.
We've got the walking stick or cane as a prop here. Love it. Love it.
Reading my Bible the other day and saw that it said, "Come and let us reason together. Otherwise, we shall all be destroyed by the edge of the sword." I say to my colleagues, let's reason together. You cannot erase truth with a lie. You cannot pretend that what has happened did not happen. Yes, we ought to have a president, but it's time for this one to go. I urge passage of this resolution and agree wholeheartedly.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio.
We reserve.
He reserves. Mr. Raskin.
I yield 45 seconds to the distinguished gentleman from California, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Thompson is recognized for 45 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States incited an attack against our democracy. For months, he ginned up his supporters with lies about our election and incited them to violence. On the 6th of January, he unleashed a mob on the Capitol. The President must be held accountable for this vile attack. He knew what he was doing, and now 5 people are dead. Congress will not be intimidated. America will not succumb to mob rule. The Vice President can initiate removal of the President who's unfit for office, and this President is unfit. He must be removed. I urge a yes vote on this resolution, and I urge a yes vote on impeachment tomorrow. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Maryland reserves. Do you reserve?
But we have one last speaker. Is the gentleman prepared to close?
I'm prepared to
Ohio
close.
prepared to close. Ohio is recognized.
I thought you had one last speaker.
But we'll go after you.
Oh, no, I know you
We'll close on my speaker.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What happened at the Capitol on January 6th was as wrong can be. It's not what America's about. And we condemn this violence. We commend the men and women of the Capitol Police for their bravery. We mourn the loss of those lives that were taken last week. Republicans have been consistent. We condemned the violence last summer. We condemned the violence last week. Democrats have been consistent about one thing: their endless quest to overturn the 2016 election. I mean, they're still trying to overturn the 2016 election after the 2020 election. This has been an obsession with you guys. In the first round, the first impeachment, based on the anonymous whistleblower that the country couldn't. You tried to remove President Trump from office based on a guy that we weren't even allowed to see, know who he or she was, couldn't cross-examine, an anonymous whistleblower with no first-hand knowledge, who was biased against the president and who worked, interestingly enough, for Joe Biden. So continuing this quest is not, as been said so many times on the floor tonight, not what the country needs. Not what the country needs, particularly after the year the country has lived through. So I hope we will not vote for this, that this thing will go down, and I urge my colleagues to vote against the resolution sponsored by the gentleman from Maryland. With that, we yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Raskin.
And Mr. Speaker, I yield the remainder of my time, which I think is 47 seconds, to the distinguished chairman of the Agriculture Committee, Mr. Scott of Georgia.
The gentleman from Georgia is allowed 30 seconds to close.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Speaker. But what we're discussing tonight, isn't about us. It's about the will of the American people. They're brokenhearted. They're crying. They're discouraged. And the overwhelming number of American people want this president out of office now. This is why we got to do it now. We got to heal the wounds. The longer that president is over there, the more we're tearing the heart and soul out of the American people. Let us do it now.
The gentleman's time has expired. All time for debate has now expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 38, the previous question is ordered on the resolution and on the preamble as amended. The question is on adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The resolution is agreed to.
Mr. Speaker, I'd ask for a recorded vote.
Pursuant to Section 3 of the House Resolution 8, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by...
If we just scream, maybe we'll win. We'll just scream and then we'll win. Oh, wait. Oops.
Electronic device.
The House is voting now on a resolution which would urge Vice President Pence and members of the cabinet to use the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office for his actions ahead of and during last week's attack on the U.S. Capitol. This will be the final vote of the evening. The House back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern to consider a resolution of impeachment on President Trump for, quote, inciting an insurrection against the U.S. government. One note on the amendment on the resolution tonight. The Vice President himself has written a letter to Speaker Pelosi telling her that he would not invoke the 25th Amendment and pleading with Congress not to go through with the resolution this evening. On the impeachment side of things, some 4 Republicans, led by Republican Conference Chair Liz Cheney, have said they would vote for impeachment tomorrow in the U.S. House. Again, that debate getting underway tomorrow morning. Our live coverage of the House on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern.
All right. So again, tomorrow morning at 9, I don't know if they're gonna like do a rush vote.
What purpose does the gentleman from Indiana seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, as the member designated by Mr. Baird of Indiana, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Baird will vote no on H-Res 21.
If they're just gonna rush vote, I might still cover it live. I'm not sure. I normally wake up at around 6 or 7 in the morning, typically, but I'm staying up late. So I might choose to sleep another hour or two. So I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if I'm going to stream live at 9. 10, I will definitely be live at 10 with my regular show. But still, I might. If I'm up and I, like, you know.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
As a member designated by Mr. Vela pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Mr. Vela will vote aye on H-Res 21.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
As a member designated by Ms. Eshoo, pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House...
Yeah, we saw Tetris. I covered it on this morning's program. Hell yeah. If you don't wake up, they won't impeach. That's true. She's not going to sleep. She's going to watch Sissy Hypnosis. Dude, that sounds awesome. Can you send me a link?
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Virginia seek recognition?
I heard that Nancy Pelosi was going to try to get an conviction in the Senate after the 2 Democrats from Georgia are seated. Because we don't necessarily need a conviction right now. What's more important is that we bar him from running again. Now, I would love to convict him right now, but I don't know if we've got the votes to convict him right now. You know? So if we have the votes, do it now. If we wait a couple more months, have hearings, right? If you wait a couple months, you can do a couple months of Senate hearings. You know? Couple months of Senate hearings, like, could move the needle on some public opinion stuff, and I'll cover it all. I'll cover it all, baby. You bet.
House that Chairwoman Johnson will vote yea on H-Res 21. The member designated by Chairman Jerry Nadler pursuant to H-Res 8, I inform the House that Chairman Nadler will vote.
So yeah, we'll wait until the vote's counted, maybe, unless it takes 2 hours. If it takes 2 hours, then I'm not going to wait. But this is going to pass. We already know what the vote is, but my fucking camera's not functioning. I'm sorry for this. You're gonna have to put up with this. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to. This is just what you're gonna. Well, got a bizarre link from Mr. Mudd. Ivanka Trump apparently thinks she's going to ride this insurrection out and be president one day. Well, that sounds fun. Good luck to her in that. You know, I wish her the best. Yeah, so. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Again, I streamed a lot today, so I'm gonna peace out. This vote, we already know what it's gonna be. You listened to the debate. It was fun. I don't know if I'm gonna debate Nico again tomorrow. Let me check the Twitter group. I don't know if he wants to debate again tomorrow. We'll see, though. Like, I'm down. He has yet to respond, so I'm down to debate again tomorrow. Hold up. All right, y'all. If you've got a Twitter account, back me up here. But again, also, if you've got, you know, PayPal, just saying, YouTube takes a 20 to 25% cut. Just saying. If you want to send me money, just, hey, you're gonna do it anyway. We already know that's happening. But, 11,000 containers of ice cream are recalled for having metal shards. Well, I'm glad I cut out fructose, aren't I? Well, I don't even need to post DMs, Classical Anti-Fetish. He said it in the debate stream. He said, I'm down to do tomorrow. I got nothing to do tomorrow. That's what he said. So I don't even need to do DMs. Do they take 30%? Is that listed anywhere? I've just been eyeballing it. I just eyeball it. Hey, I'm a YouTuber. Maybe I should know the actual percentages. Now I just eyeball it. Anyway, again, I really appreciate all of y'all for watching. The recent, I guess, explosion. What was the final vote? The Dems are gonna win the vote. I'm sorry, I'm tired and all that stuff, but you can check out C-SPAN if you want to check out the vote. But yeah, I really do appreciate the recent influx of new people just watching, tuning in. I think it's very nice. Mudjo has a cringe tweet for me. Send me the link. And you know, I'm just a regular person. I'm just trying to have fun. Just trying to exist. This is a great tweet. This is a great tweet. Hold up. It's a really good tweet. Oh, this is an even better tweet. I just saw those replies. Oh, shit. All right, check it. I have no idea who Nico is having this real-time debate with. By the way, what is a real-time debate? What is that? As opposed, like an email exchange? Like, what is a non-real-time? Okay. But man, are they woefully unprepared for this conversation. They're making no sense and have no valid argument or organizing experience. I imagine a lot of insufferable Twitter leftists are like this in IRL. So we've got very interesting stuff. Real-time debate, and then in IRL. And then also they're making no sense and having no valid argument or organizing experience. Neither, like, this tweet doesn't... This tweet is just ad hominem garbage. Like, there's no... And, like, in a debate, like, if you say something and messed up, you're, like, speaking in real time. This person could proofread. This person could post, like, a round 2 of what I got incorrectly. Hey, I might fuck up. We all fuck up. How are you supposed to learn from the fuck-ups if no one tells you what the fuck-ups are? Interesting, interesting. I don't know which of the two you're describing. Oh my god, this is even better. This is even better. I'm not sure if the person Nico is talking to is trans, so I'm just using they in place of he or she. They are not oh my god. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Not sending their best. They're not sending their best.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
All right, let's keep going. What are they debating? I think it started about censorship, but it's devolved because the person who's debating has no counterpoints. What does that mean? What does that mean? What were the counter, like, what? So not only, like, I just didn't say anything? I mean, like, what? Not my counterpoints were wrong, but just no counterpoints? What? Interesting. Interesting. The worst debate I've ever seen, and this includes the debate with Trump-Biden. This is worse than Trump-Biden? Well, I mean, hey, this happened during Trump-Biden.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
This is a rare good scoop from Mudjo. Anti-idpol war? What? This is a verified user, by the way. I just, remember when Nico House was trying to, like, make it seem like I was a blue check? Like, Nico House was like, and blue check liberals Meanwhile, a blue check liberal is in the hardcore defense. Who is this? Contributing editor? Like, what? Who is this? I don't know. They could be cool. I don't know them, but it's interesting. It's interesting. I was babysitting and only caught some of it, but that shit reeks of someone who's embodied the word smugnorant. They seem like the person who only can speak in received talking points, and it's embarrassing they put... I did it. Nico House literally said the same thing like 10 times. And yet, I'm the one with the talking... What? I really don't get it. Just listened. And she sounds like the white... Oh my... I'm sorry. I know, you're getting live Twitter posting. This is a great stream, right? You're getting live Twitter posting. You're watching this 11 p.m. live Twitter posting. And with that, I bid y'all adieu. Is it adieu? I don't know.
Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ, only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Bad deal, should have never been thought of.
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened with people in law and order. People in law and order. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We have to have law and order. People in law and order. We have to have people in law and order. We have to have people in law and order. We have to have, but you have to go home now.
In case you don't know, and you haven't seen the latest polls, the American people hold the President of the United States in contempt. They hold this institution in contempt. They hold the Republican Party in contempt. They hold the Democratic Party in contempt. They think that maybe, given all of the crises facing this country, it's about time that there was some bold leadership here and that this institution made some hard choices.
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. No good. No good.
They're not accountable to anyone. I get 10 to 12 million views a month, and they won't come out and address my progressive audience?
Talking about with that, Jimmy?
I'm talking about anybody who's a progressive in Congress who isn't endorsing #TheVote. All those motherfuckers who didn't show up today at our town hall. Every fucking one of them is selling you out and canceling you for their own personal gain. They're not accountable to anyone. I get 10 to 12 million views a month. They're not accountable.
Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out the votes. Those votes were put there a number of hours before the...
Well, you have to understand, the first time I ever heard of Black Lives Matter, they were chanting pigs in a blanket, talking about police. Pigs.
pigs, talking about our police, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. But you have to go home now. People in Law and Order. $7 million for reef fish management. $25 million to combat Asian carp. $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico.
Dumb people, liberal people, dumb people, liberal people, dumb 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 people, liberal people, dumb.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
And then they have cans of soup. Soup, cops at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup for my family.
Watch Hillary examine the terrain. Watch a campaign with the man Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine in the membrane.